Chapter 1938. Chapter 1938. Kneel down. During this period of time, Yen Song was extremely depressed and furious. In Yen Song's military tent, he slammed his palm heavily on the table. The terrifying force of his palm smashed the table into pieces. "Damned bitch!" Yen Song bellowed. His face was incomparably malevolent and filled with killing intent. During this period of time, every time he looked for Ruan Tianjiao, he would be stopped by Ruan Tianjiao's subordinates. They said that Ruan Tianjiao had to focus on training the army and had no time. However, the news he received was that Ruan Tianjiao was always hanging out with Lu Ming. "Young master, it seems like Ruan Tianjiao has been bewitched by Lu Ming. One wonder what kind of drug that kid has given Ruan Tianjiao? That's right. It's all because of Lu Ming. When I first saw him, I knew that he wasn't a good person. If not for that kid, Ruan Tianjiao might have already fallen into the young master's arms." A few of Yen Song's subordinates added fuel to the fire, causing Yen Song to become even angrier. His killing intent was like a knife. "That brat must die." Yen Song coldly spoke and continued, "I told you to keep an eye on that kid. Where is he now?" "Young master, we just received news that the brat has returned to the camp." One of them answered, "Very good. Let's go. I want this kid to die a miserable death." A sinister look appeared in Yen Song's eyes. He led a few of his subordinates and walked towards Lu Ming's tent. Lu Ming was cultivating in the military tent when a loud roar suddenly came from outside. "Lu Ming, get out here!" A voice filled with murderous intent was heard, causing Lu Ming to frown. He knew it was Yen Song's voice the moment he heard it. A sharp glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He got up and walked out of the tent. He saw Yen Song and a few of his subordinates looking at Lu Ming with a cold expression. Around the military tent, some members of the Divine Dragon Army were alarmed and gathered around to watch. However, Yen Song's status was no small matter, so no one dared to come over and speak. "What's the matter?" Lu Ming cast a faint glance at him. "Brat, I've already given you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Now, you even dare to snatch my woman. You really don't know what's good for you." Yen Song said coldly, "You're giving me a chance?" Lu Ming could not help but shake his head. "Who would give who a chance then? You lowly dog, why don't you take a piss and see who you are? How dare you go against me? A dog like you should kneel in front of me and beg for mercy. Do you understand? Kill him." Yen Song shouted and waved his hand. Bang, bang. The two half-saint martial artists stepped out. Their powerful auras burst out and they were about to attack Lu Ming. "Stop, young Master Yen. Lu Ming is the general's friend. If the general finds out that you're treating Lu Ming like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to answer to him." At this moment, a burly man rushed over and shouted. He was a deputy general of the Divine Dragon Army. During this period of time, he had become quite familiar with Lu Ming. "Get lost!" Yen Song shouted angrily and slapped the burly man. The burly man did not dare to resist and was slapped in the face. He staggered and retreated. "Who do you think you are? I don't need you to criticize me. If you say any more nonsense, I'll kill you as well." Yen Song's cold gaze swept across the burly man, causing him to turn pale. "This is bad. Yen Song wants to kill Lu Ming. Quickly inform the marshal." In the surroundings, some people muttered. After that, some people quickly left to inform Ruan Tianjiao. "They'll make you pay for this slap 10 times over." Lu Ming looked at Yen Song, his expression turning cold. "Ha, you're talking big. Let's do it." Yen Song laughed heartily. "Kid, kneel down first." The two half-saints charged at Lu Ming from both sides. They waved their hands at Lu Ming, intending to make him kneel in front of Yen Song before killing him. "Since you like to kneel then, kneel down." Lu Ming used the soul illusion on the last word. At this moment, in the eyes of the two half-saints, Lu Ming seemed to have transformed into a demonic god who ruled the world and had the power to kill. The two of them were almost scared out of their wits by the terrifying aura. The two of them seemed to have lost control of their bodies. They knelt down in front of Lu Ming with a plop. Yen Song was dumbfounded. His two other subordinates were also dumbfounded. The surrounding Divine Dragon Army soldiers were also stunned. What was going on? Why were Yen Song's two half-saint subordinates suddenly kneeling in front of Lu Ming? As for Lu Ming, he did not do anything at all. He only said softly, "Kneel down." These were two half-saints, the closest to being a saint? Could it be that Lu Ming was a saint? Everyone secretly guessed. It seems that your two subordinates know that they were wrong and are kneeling down to beg for mercy. If you don't kneel down, one might consider sparing you. Lu Ming looked at Yen Song indifferently. You dog, you actually dare to fight back. You are indeed a spy. Attack and kill him. Yen Song reacted, and the anger in his heart soared to the sky as he roared loudly. Kill! Beside Yen Song, an old man stepped out, and a terrifying aura bloomed. The old man was a lower-tier bright saint and was a well-known top master in the country. The old man's aura bloomed, causing many people's faces to change. This was a saint, a top cultivator of Mingyan country. A half-saint couldn't compare to him. Why isn't the marshal here yet? Some people were anxious and worried for Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming had made the two half-saints kneel down, the difference between the saint realm and the half-saint realm was too great. The old man's aura grew stronger and stronger, pressing towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was still standing there, motionless, as if he did not see the old man. Deliberately mystifying, die for this old man. The old man's eyes were filled with ferocity. His claws were like blades as he clawed at Lu Ming. Kneel down. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke again. His voice was not loud, but when it fell into the old man's ears, it sounded like thunder. It was as if a god was shouting in his ear. At this moment, his soul was under a terrifying pressure. He couldn't use any power in his body. Plop. Just like the two half-saints, he knelt down in front of Lu Ming. The entire place fell silent. At this moment, time and space seemed to have frozen. Everyone was dumbfounded. They looked at Lu Ming coldly and then at the old man. A saint actually knelt down in front of Lu Ming. A moment ago, he was filled with killing intent and wanted to kill Lu Ming. The next moment he knelt in front of Lu Ming. What was going on? Many people realized that their brains were already unable to process this. They had never seen such a thing before. A Saint Realm expert didn't even fight and directly knelt down. What kind of trick was this? Yen Song was also stunned. His mouth was so wide open that he could swallow a dead rat. His throat seemed to be stuck by something, and he could not make a sound for a long time. It seems that your subordinates are very sensible. They have recognized their mistakes and knelt down to admit their mistakes. Now, why don't you kneel down? Lu Ming looked at Yen Song and spoke indifferently. Chapter 1939. Chapter 1939. I'm sorry, I called too much. Lu Ming opened his mouth. Yen Song seemed to have woken up from a dream and reacted. You dog, what kind of demonic technique did you use that you actually made the saint of Mingyan country kneel? How dare you? Just you wait, this matter is not over. After saying this, Yen Song turned around and was about to leave. Lu Ming was too strange. He could actually make an expert of the sage state kneel down. He felt his hair standing on end. He wanted to return to the capital first and report to his father. Then he would send experts to take revenge. Did I let you go? Lu Ming's indifferent voice rang out. He moved and appeared in front of Yen Song. His cold, knife-like gaze swept toward Yen Song, causing Yen Song's expression to change drastically. He could not help but take a few steps back. What do you want to do? Yen Song shouted. Kneel down and slap your own mouth. Lu Ming said calmly. You dare? Kid, you dare to touch me? Do you understand the consequences? Yen Song shouted. Oh, what are the consequences? Lu Ming said playfully. You dog, listen up. My father is the state preceptor, and my sister is His Majesty's most beloved imperial concubine. They'll make sure you die a graveless death and 111 exterminate your entire family. Yen Song shouted and glared at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. He did not believe that Lu Ming would dare to touch him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming swung his palm. This slap was unbelievably fast, and Yen Song had no way of dodging it. But the crisp sound of a slap spread in all directions. Yen Song flew out and spun dozens of times in the air. Then he fell heavily to the ground. Half of his face was puffed up and his teeth were all knocked out by Lu Ming. Yen Song was stunned. The others were also stunned. Lu Ming actually dared to hit Yen Song. He was really bold. Yen Song roared hysterically. Just now, he had come with a murderous intent and wanted to kill Lu Ming. In the end, a few of his subordinates had knelt in front of Lu Ming for no reason. Now, Lu Ming actually dared to slap him. This was a great humiliation. He could not wait to cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Slap his mouth, you're courting death, Lu Ming said coldly. He swung his palm in the air. A palm condensed from holy power was formed and slapped Yen Song's face ruthlessly. Yen Song's body flew out again and spun a few rounds in the air. Under Lu Ming's control, he fell to the ground and knelt there. I said just now, one want you to pay me back 10 times. You gave me 1 slap, so one will give you 10 slaps. Lu Ming said coldly. He waved his hand again and gave 10 more slaps. After 10 consecutive slaps, Yen Song's face had completely turned into a pig's head. His face was swollen beyond recognition. I'm sorry, I slapped you 2 more times. Lu Ming pursed his lips. In addition to the 2 slaps from before, he had a total of 12 slaps. Yen Song was so furious that he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was simply bullying. Buzz. At this moment, a streak of light flew over from the distance and landed on the ground. Ruan Tianjiao had arrived. When she received the news, she rushed over. When she saw this scene, she was quite speechless. Yen Song actually dared to lay his hands on Lu Ming. He was really looking for a beating. She had rushed over not because she was worried about Lu Ming, but because she was afraid that Lu Ming would kill Yen Song in a fit of anger. After all, Yen Song was the son of the state preceptor. If he died, there would be trouble. Heavenly Flood Dragon, you've come at the right time. This Lu Ming is a spy. He actually dared to hit the experts of our Mingyan country. Quickly call for people to take him down and cripple his cultivation. Then, bring him back to the capital for interrogation. Seeing Ruan Tianjiao, Yen Song cried out hysterically again. Ruan Tianjiao secretly shook his head. This Yen Song really didn't change. Yen Song, I've told you long ago that Lu Ming is my guest, not a spy. Moreover, you were the one who started this. You're the one who brought it upon yourself. Ruan Tianjiao said indifferently. What did you just say? I asked for it? Ruan Tianjiao, you adulterous couple, just you wait. Yen Song's anger soared to the sky. He left behind a few harsh words and staggered away. Get lost. Following that, Lu Ming waved his hand and a few of Yen Song's subordinates flew out and landed heavily on the ground. Then they climbed up in a sorry state and fled. Lu Ming, thank you for not killing Yen Song. Ruan Tianjiao cupped her fists at Lu Ming. She also understood that Lu Ming did not kill Yen Song because he was most likely thinking for her. Lu Ming smiled faintly. I hit Yen Song. Will I implicate you? He asked. No, I'm one of the 5 great marshals of the Mingyan country after all. Yen Song can't do anything to me. Ruan Tianjiao shook his head. This matter was over just like that. After that, Ruan Tianjiao continued to train the army while Lu Ming cultivated every day. After more than 10 days, he would head to the capital with Ruan Tianjiao. Time flew by and 7 days passed. On this day, someone from the capital came with the emperor's imperial edict. Ruan Tianjiao received the decree. The one who came to deliver the decree was a thin old man. He squinted his eyes and smiled. General Tianjiao, congratulations. His Majesty has decreed a marriage for you to young Master Yen Song. The marriage will be completed in a few days. What? These words were like a bolt from the blue, causing Ruan Tianjiao to be stunned. Even Ruan Tianjiao's subordinates were stunned. The emperor bestowed a marriage and betrothed Ruan Tianjiao to Yen Song? How was this possible? Master Chow, are you mistaken? I'm the marshal of an army. How could His Majesty grant me a marriage so easily? Ruan Tianjiao asked. Sir Chaos' face darkened. His Majesty personally issued a decree. Furthermore, it has already been announced to the world. How can it be wrong? Damn it, it must be Yen Song. What did he say to His Majesty when he returned? It's most likely his sister, Consort Qing, who bewitched His Majesty. Yuan Tianjiao's subordinates were furious. Needless to say, Yan Song was definitely behind this. Yan Song pursued Yuan Tianjiao, but Yuan Tianjiao never gave Yan Song a good attitude. 7 days ago, Yan Song was taught a lesson by Lu Ming. He must have harbored a grudge. After he returned to the capital, he must have said something to the emperor. Otherwise, why would the emperor suddenly bestow a marriage? Marshal Tianjiao, accept the decree and thank His Majesty for his kindness. Sir Chao said coldly. Lord Chao, please go back. Please forgive me for not being able to receive the decree. Yuan Tianjiao said with a dark expression. What? If you don't accept the decree, Yuan Tianjiao, do you want to disobey the decree? Sir Chao rebuked coldly. So what if I defy the decree? That incapable ruler is becoming more and more muddled. One of the officers said coldly. How dare you? How dare you insult His Majesty? This is a capital crime. Sir Chao pointed at the general and shouted. I think you'll die first. The general exuded a cold killing intent as he looked at Sir Chao with cold eyes. Sir Chao shivered. His face was pale and he broke out in a cold sweat. If Yuan Tianjiao revolted in a fit of anger and killed him, he would have died an unjust death. Sir Chao, please go back. One won't accept this imperial edict. I will personally return to the capital and find His Majesty to clarify things. Yuan Tianjiao said coldly. It was as if Sir Chao had been granted amnesty, and he left with his tail between his legs. Chapter 1940. The Time God Mountain. Chapter 1940. The Time God Mountain. I'll leave tomorrow and return to the capital. I'll leave the Divine Dragon Army in your hands for this period of time. Yuan Tianjiao looked at the generals. Marshal, let's just rebel. One of the officers said. That's right. His Majesty is fatuous and infatuated with Consort Qing. He doesn't care about the state affairs and all the power is controlled by the state preceptor. The people are in misery and suffering. Why don't we rebel and replace him? The marshal is the goddess of war and has contributed greatly to the Ming-Yen kingdom. The people will definitely welcome the marshal to replace her. A few of the generals spoke out one after another, persuading Yuan Tianjiao to rebel and kill his way to the capital. Shut up! Yuan Tianjiao shouted, and everyone shut up. The Yuan family has been loyal generals for generations. How can we rebel? In the future, there is no need to mention such things again. Otherwise, we will be punished by military law. Yuan Tianjiao shouted, his eyes like lightning, causing the generals' expressions to turn ugly and indignant. Marshal, we'll go with you to the capital tomorrow. If the Yen family has any schemes, we'll be able to look out for them. One of the officers said. No need. Your mission is to guard the Divine Dragon Army. One have the power to protect myself. Yuan Tianjiao said. I'll go with you tomorrow. A voice was heard. It was Lu Ming. Naturally, Lu Ming had seen everything that happened just now. He was originally going to the capital, so he was going with Yuan Tianjiao. Yuan Tianjiao looked at Lu Ming and then nodded. The next day, Lu Ming and Yuan Tianjiao each rode a strange beast and headed towards the capital of Ming-Yen country. This island was very vast, but the strange beasts they were riding on were astonishingly fast. Like a gust of wind, they arrived at the capital of Ming-Yen in 3 days. On the way, Yuan Tianjiao explained the situation in Ming-Yen country. Ever since Ming-Yen country's emperor fell in love with consort Shanqing, he abandoned the government and the imperial advisor took control. For the sake of his own cultivation, the imperial advisor plundered the treasures of the entire Ming-Yen country, causing the people to live in poverty and the country's strength to decline day by day. Now, the most powerful person in Ming-Yen country was the imperial advisor. The capital of the Ming-Yen kingdom was huge and lively. However, Lu Ming had seen the prosperity of the Heavenly Emperor City. Compared to the Heavenly Emperor City, the capital of the Ming-Yen kingdom was like a wild village. The two of them rode on their strange beasts and entered the capital, heading towards the palace. Greetings, Marshal Tianjiao. Greetings, Heavenly Serpent Female War God. The moment they entered the capital, The people on the road all saluted Ruan Tianjiao when they saw him. "It seems like you're loved by the people." Lu Ming smiled and sent a voice transmission to Ruan Tianjiao. "I'm only doing my part." Ruan Tianjiao nodded to everyone and continued forward. "Sigh, such a peerless person like General Tianjiao actually has to marry that bastard Yen Song. What a pity. Isn't that so? But now that the Yen family is so powerful that even His Majesty listens to them, what can we do? It's just a pity for Martial Heavenly Dragon." Lu Ming could hear the people's laments and discussions. Not long after, they came to a stretch of palace halls. This was the Imperial Palace, but they were blocked outside the Imperial Palace. "General Tianjiao, please forgive us. His Majesty has ordered that we will not see anyone for the next 2 days. A general who was guarding the gate cupped his fists and said, "Go and report that I've returned." Ruan Tianjiao said with a frown, "His Majesty has said that if Marshal Tianjiao returns, there is no need to inform him. His Majesty will prepare a banquet 3 days later to welcome the Marshal." "Marshal, please come back 3 days later," the general at the gate said. Ruan Tianjiao frowned. He did not say anything else and left the palace with Lu Ming. Not long after, they arrived in front of a mansion with the words, "The Ruan Residence." This was Ruan Tianjiao's residence in the capital. They were temporarily staying at the Ruan Residence. After arranging a room for Lu Ming, Ruan Tianjiao left the Ruan Residence for an unknown reason. A day later, Ruan Tianjiao returned. "Lu Ming, I've brought you the information you wanted about the ancient monument." Ruan Tianjiao found Lu Ming and handed him a jade tablet. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual senses. Indeed, he found some ancient relics in the 10,000 Seas realm. "Heavenly Serpent, where is the most famous relic in the 10,000 Sea realm?" Lu Ming asked after a while. "Of course it's the Time God Mountain. Legend has it that the Time God Mountain has existed for countless years and was left behind by an undying." Yuan Tianjiao said. "Undying?" Lu Ming muttered. During this time, he had a deeper understanding of the martial arts cultivation and realms in the 10,000 Sea realm. The realms and titles in the 10,000 Sea realm were the same as those in the outside world. They went all the way to the Martial Emperor, then the Bright Saint, the Supreme Saint, and the Absolute Saint. However, after he became an Absolute Saint, there were changes. Above Absolute Saint, the 10,000 Sea realm was called Saint Emperor. Lu Ming speculated that a sacred emperor was equivalent to an emperor-to-be in the outside world. According to the ancient records and legends of the Mingyan country, the Holy Emperor was the highest realm in the world. Further up was the Undying. Immortality, endless lifespan, undying and imperishable. But in the 10,000 Sea realm, it was a legend. It had never appeared. Lu Ming speculated that the Immortal in the 10,000 Sea realm was the Martial Emperor in the outside world. The Time God Mountain was left behind by an undying being. Could it be the Celestial the Arch? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had to go and take a look at the Time God Mountain. It might have something to do with the Celestial the Arch. "How can one go to the Time God Mountain?" Lu Ming asked. "I don't know either." "No." Ruan Tianjiao shook his head. "Legend has it that the Time God Mountain is on the Time God Island, but no one has ever found it." "Has no one been there before?" Lu Ming frowned. "Of course, someone has. Every 3 years, the Time Island sends an emissary to bring a group of people to the island to cultivate. It's said that the cultivation conditions there are unique, and it's a holy land of martial arts that countless people in the myriad sea realm yearn for. It's not too far away from the time of the next trip to the Divine Time Island. Soon, the 9 nations of the vast sea will have an alliance meeting to select a quota to go to the Divine Time Island. The Mingyan Kingdom will also be participating. Lu Ming, if you want to go to the Divine Time Island, this is an opportunity." Ruan Tianjiao explained. "An alliance of the 9 nations?" There was a flash of light in Lu Ming's eyes. He definitely had to make a trip to the Time Mountain. Lu Ming estimated that the experts who entered from the outside world would most likely head to the Time God Mountain. After all, it was suspected to have been left behind by the Celestial Emperor. If there were any treasures, they would definitely be priceless. Time flew by and 3 days passed. 3 days later, Lu Ming and Ruan Tianjiao headed for the palace. This time, someone welcomed them into the palace and they came to an empty space. This place had beautiful mountains and clear waters, and the environment was very elegant. At this time, there were already some banquet tables placed on both sides of the area. When Lu Ming and Xiao Mu arrived, they realized that there were already many people. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he felt a cold gaze directed at him. Lu Ming followed the direction of the gaze and found Yen Song staring at him with a murderous look. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He could not be bothered with Yen Song and started to look around. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1941. Chapter 1941, All-Round Suppression. Chapter 1941. Chapter 1941 All-Round Suppression. Beside Yen Song sat a thin old man. His hair was white and he was dressed in fine clothes. His appearance was similar to Yen Song's. Lu Ming guessed that this person should be the state preceptor. The imperial advisor's eyes squinted slightly with a faint smile. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking, but he gave off the feeling of a wily old fox. In the middle of the room, there were two people. One of them was an old man with snow-white hair. He wore a dragon robe and a jade crown. From the looks of it, he should be the king of Mingyan country. Beside the king of Mingyan country sat a beautiful woman. This woman looked to be in her 20s. She had a lithe figure, and her eyes were like silk. She was extremely charming and enchanting. This person should be Yen Song's older sister, Consort Qing. In the other seats, there were also some people sitting. Each of them had an extraordinary temperament. They should all be high-level figures of Mingyan country. Ruan Tianjiao strode forward and bowed to the king of Mingyan country. Your humble servant greets your majesty. Tianjiao is back. No need for formalities, please take a seat. The king of Mingyan laughed. Many thanks, your majesty. Ruan Tianjiao said. With that, he and Lu Ming walked to a row of seats at the side and sat down. How dare you, Lu Ming? Who do you think you are? What right do you have to sit there? Lu Ming had just sat down when on the other side, Yen Song slammed the table and stood up. He looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. They were going to make things difficult so quickly. Why aren't you getting up? Don't you see where you are? Who was the person sitting here? Do you have the right to sit here with your status? Quickly get up and roll to the side. Yen Song berated once again. However, Lu Ming did not seem to hear her. He picked up the wine glass on the table and slowly took a sip. Good wine, it's really good wine. Unfortunately, there's a wild dog barking and it spoiled my mood. How bold! Yen Song was furious. His eyes were filled with malevolent killing intent. You think you're very noble? Why did you kneel in front of me? Lu Ming smiled in disdain. Shut up. Men, take this person's seat away. Yen Song shouted. Immediately, someone stepped forward and wanted to take away Lu Ming's seat. The king of Mingyan country, Consort Qing, the state preceptor, and the others all looked on indifferently, as if they were watching a good show. Get lost, stop. Ruan Tianjiao shouted. A murderous aura that had been on the battlefield emanated from her, causing the guard who was about to take Lu Ming's seat to freeze and stop in his tracks. Lu Ming is my friend. If you want to remove Lu Ming's position, you can remove mine as well. Ruan Tianjiao shouted. The guard was stunned and didn't know what to do. Ruan Tianjiao's status could not be compared to Lu Ming's. He was the marshal of the Divine Dragon Army and the goddess of war of the Mingyan country. How would he dare to remove Ruan Tianjiao from his seat? Retreat? Why aren't we retreating? Ruan Tianjiao's gaze was threatening as he stared at the guard. Cold sweat broke out on the guard's face as he cast a pleading look at Yen Song, the state preceptor, and the others. Damn it! Yen Song was incomparably furious and extremely jealous. It was unknown what medicine Lu Ming had given Ruan Tianjiao to make him protect Lu Ming. And NBS, okay, you can leave. Since this little brother is a friend of a genius 9-star general, you can naturally sit here. At this moment, the imperial advisor spoke indifferently. The guard felt as if he had been granted amnesty. He let out a long breath, bowed and retreated. Tianjiao, you've returned just in time. I've already bestowed you with a marriage, and the date has already been set. You've returned just in time to complete the marriage with Yen Song. The country ruler said from above. Your Majesty, this lowly subject has returned from this trip because of this matter. Matters of the heart cannot be forced. This lowly subject does not have the slightest feeling for Yen Song. Your Majesty, please retract your order. Yuan Tianjiao stood up and bowed to the king. Impudent. Beside the monarch, Consort Qing shouted coldly, the emperor does not play with his words. Since his Majesty has already given the decree, how can he take it back? Yuan Tianjiao, do you want his Majesty to be a man of his word? This lowly subject doesn't dare, yes. Yuan Tianjiao cupped his fists and said, for other matters, one will definitely respect you. If you want me to go to the battlefield and kill the enemy, I will not even frown. But for this matter, I cannot accept your orders. Tianjiao, Consort Qing has also said that the emperor does not play with his words. Moreover, Yen Song is not bad and is a good match for you. Let's settle this matter. The country ruler waved his hand, his tone unquestionable. Yuan Tianjiao was simply in disbelief. He didn't expect that the country ruler would actually marry her to Yen Song so rashly without her consent. Although the previous country ruler was muddle-headed, he wouldn't have done this. His Majesty has already announced to the world that the two of you will be married in half a month. This matter is settled. During this period, General Tianjiao will stay in the palace. The imperial advisor spoke as if he had decided on this matter. Yuan Tianjiao shook his head and was extremely disappointed in the king. Originally, she had come back to demand an explanation from the country ruler and make him retract his order. But now she found out that the country ruler was completely on the side of the state preceptor. Lu Ming did not say a word. There was a strange glint in his eyes. He secretly sized up the king and found something interesting. Tianjiao, I'm afraid that the king will not listen to you. That Consort Qing is good at seduction. The king has been bewitched and will listen to Consort Qing. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Yuan Tianjiao. What? Yuan Tianjiao was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. He suddenly stood up, and a powerful aura emanated from him. He glared at the imperial preceptor and shouted, Yen Kuei and Yen Sun, how dare you use your seduction techniques to bewitch his Majesty? As soon as he said this, the expressions of Consort Qing, the state preceptor, Yen Song, and the others changed drastically. Yuan Tianjiao, what nonsense are you spouting? Yen Song bellowed. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you both know in your hearts. Yen Kuei, Yen Jing, you dared to secretly harm His Majesty and secretly manipulate His Majesty. No wonder His Majesty ignored the state affairs and gave you all the power. I will announce this matter to the world. Lu Ming, let's go. With that, Yuan Tianjiao strode out. Stop him. The state preceptor's face darkened. With a wave of his hand, 4 figures flickered and surrounded Lu Ming and Yuan Tianjiao. Each of them exuded a powerful aura. Great circle of bright saint. Lu Ming did not even need to look to know that the 4 of them were in the great circle of the bright saint stage and were not weaker than Yuan Tianjiao. The 4 of you are marshals, yet you're willing to degrade yourself and take orders from the state preceptor? Yuan Tianjiao said with a grave expression. These 4 people were as famous as her. The other 4 great generals of Mingyan country had strong combat strength. They were all in the great circle of the bright saint stage. Each of their combat strength was not much weaker than hers. If the 4 of them joined forces, she would definitely not be able to defeat them. Yuan Tianjiao, you disobeyed the decree and are indeed a wolf with wild ambitions. You want a rebel? The imperial advisor spoke indifferently and accused Yuan Tianjiao of a serious crime. You're talking nonsense. Yuan Tianjiao shouted. It was clearly the state preceptor and the others who were rebelling, yet they still said she was rebelling. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1942, Are you guys done? Chapter 1942, Are you guys done? The imperial advisor sneered, You don't even listen to His Majesty's orders. You disobey the decree and are disrespectful. If this isn't a rebellion, what is it? And I've already received news that you've secretly contacted Luoshui Kingdom and attempted to rebel against your superior to destroy Mingyan Kingdom. You deserve to die 10,000 times. Colluding with the Luoshui Kingdom? Nonsense, who would believe your one-sided words? Ruan Tianjiao shouted. You want evidence? I'll give it to you. Come out. The imperial advisor's cold voice was heard. Then a strong man in his 30s walked out. Greetings to your majesty, greetings to the imperial advisor. The brawny man saluted the monarch and the imperial advisor. Wang Xing, what are you doing here? Ruan Tianjiao was very surprised because Wang Xing was his guard and had followed her for many years. However, she did not let Wang Xing come to the capital. Shouldn't Wang Xing be in the Divine Dragon Army? Ruan Tianjiao had a bad feeling in his heart. Wang Xing, tell me everything you know. The imperial advisor said. Wang Xing nodded and said, Ruan Tianjiao has indeed been secretly communicating with the Luoshui Kingdom and has been plotting. When the time is right, he is prepared to plot a rebellion and claim himself as the emperor. However, I am a citizen of the Mingyan Kingdom and am only loyal to the Mingyan Kingdom and His Majesty. How can I allow such a thing to happen? Today, I will reveal Ruan Tianjiao's wild ambitions to the public. Wang Xing's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. Wang Xing, you dare to slander me! Ruan Tianjiao shouted, his entire body trembling with anger. It was obvious that Wang Xing had been bribed by the state preceptor and had framed her together with him. However, Wang Xing was her guard, and many people would believe what he said. Ruan Tianjiao, your scheme has been exposed. Why don't you surrender? However, since Yen Song has pleaded for you, I can spare your life. As long as you destroy your cultivation, marry Yen Song, and hand over your military power, I will not announce your rebellion to the world and protect your innocence. The imperial advisor said coldly, as if he had everything under control. For this matter, he had already started planning. Everything was perfect, and Ruan Tianjiao had no room to resist. The final outcome would be the same. His cultivation would be crippled, he would hand over his military power and marry his son, Yen Song. Yen Song's eyes revealed a smug look as he looked at Ruan Tianjiao and Lu Ming with cold arrogance. A bitch, a dog, and you want to fight with me? You don't know what's good for you. Yen Song laughed heartily, feeling extremely pleased with himself. Especially when he looked at Ruan Tianjiao's heroic face and perfect figure, his heart was burning, and he wanted nothing more than to take Ruan Tianjiao for himself. But soon he told himself, you guys, despicable. Ruan Tianjiao trembled with anger. She understood that the state preceptor not only wanted Yen Song to marry her, but also to take away her military power. Now, the other four marshals had already submitted to the imperial advisor. If the Divine Dragon Army was also seized, then the Mingyan country would truly become the imperial advisor's world, and no one would be able to control him. Ruan Tianjiao turned to look at the king, but the king did not even look at her. He was only drinking with consort Qing. Ruan Tianjiao was thoroughly disappointed. What else? At this moment, Lu Ming's voice was heard faintly. What? The state preceptor, Yen Song, and the rest were stunned. They did not understand what Lu Ming meant. If you're not talking, then you're done, right? Since you're done, it's my turn to speak. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the surroundings. He said with a faint smile, today's matter is like this. The imperial advisor, Yen Song, and consort Qing led the masses to rebel and kill the monarch, intending to replace him. Then, Marshal Tianjiao arrived with his men and killed the rebellious imperial advisor and the others to avenge the monarch. In the end, with the support of the people, Ruan Tianjiao became the empress of the Ming Yen country. The state preceptor, Yen Song, consort Qing, and everyone else at the scene, including Ruan Tianjiao, were all dumbfounded. After a long while, he finally reacted. This kid is about to die. It looks like he's scared crazy. Yen Song laughed so hard that his tears were flowing. The state preceptor, consort Qing, and the others also laughed. Their laughter was full of contempt. Lu Ming's intention was to kill all of them and then let Ruan Tianjiao sit on the throne of the empress. Was that possible? It was really crazy talk. The imperial advisor and the others shook their heads. Lu Ming did not seem to notice the state preceptor and the rest's expressions. Instead, he looked at Ruan Tianjiao and said, "Sky Flood Dragon, what do you think of my idea?" Ah. Ruan Tianjiao was stunned and didn't react for a moment. "I understand. It's not easy for you to do it. Let me do it." Lu Ming smiled, then stood up and walked toward Yen Song. "This person is crazy. Kill him." Yen Song shouted. "Brat, you're talking nonsense." One of the 9-star generals shouted. He took a step forward, and the ground rumbled. His burly body rushed toward Lu Ming like a mountain. His aura was shocking. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. It was as if he did not see the general make a move. He allowed the general to attack him. "Be careful!" Ruan Tianjiao cried out in alarm, but it was too late to save him. "Brat, go to hell!" Yen Song roared in his heart, his eyes filled with pride. He wanted to compete with him for his woman. He didn't know what was good for him. At this moment, Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the marshal. 2 dark rays of light flashed in his eyes. Then, everyone saw the general's body tremble, and he fell to the ground with a thud. He was no longer breathing. He was dead. The general died suddenly and silently. No one saw how the general died or how Lu Ming did it. The scene suddenly became quiet. The imperial advisor's eyes squinted and a cold light flashed in them. "How dare you kill the commander of an army? If this isn't a rebellion, what is it? Let's attack together and kill this man." Beside the monarch, Consort Qing shouted. Boom, boom, boom. The other 3 9-star generals attacked at the same time. All 3 of them were in the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. When they attacked together, their momentum was rather terrifying. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Die! Lu Ming did not even look at the 3 marshals. His gaze was fixed on Yen Song and he softly uttered a word. And NBSP, the power of the God Sword art spread out along with the sound and entered the 3 9-star generals' bodies. The 3 marshals were the same as the previous marshal. Their bodies trembled slightly and their souls were destroyed by Lu Ming. Their bodies fell limply and they were no longer breathing. Dead, he died again. The 4 great marshals, the top cultivators of the Mingyan country, were all dead in an instant. No one saw how they died. A series of gasps rang out in the venue. They only heard Lu Ming say the word die indifferently and the 3 marshals were dead. This was too terrifying. What kind of sacred art was this? It was as if Lu Ming was the god of death and whoever he wanted to kill had to die. Yen Song's expression changed. He became as pale as a sheet of paper and his eyes were filled with fear. The state preceptor and Consort Qing's expressions also changed, becoming extremely serious. They knew that they had encountered a troublesome expert. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1943. A Matter of One Move. Chapter 1943. A matter of one move. As for Ruan Tianjiao, he was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. The cultivation of the 4 great marshals was the same as hers. However, her spirit body was slightly higher. In terms of combat strength, she was ranked first among the 5 great marshals, but she wasn't that much stronger. For such experts had died in front of Lu Ming in an instant. What was Lu Ming's cultivation? Could it be that Lu Ming was an eminent saint? In the past, when she first met Lu Ming, although she felt that Lu Ming was extraordinary, she also felt that Lu Ming was at most similar to her. He had never expected that Lu Ming would kill 4 top-tier experts without a sound. Bang, bang. After Lu Ming killed the 4 marshals, he continued to move forward, walking toward Yen Song. Every step seemed to knock on Yen Song's heart, making his heart tremble. The fear in his eyes grew stronger. Kill him. Let's kill him together. Yen Song cried out hysterically. This person is plotting a rebellion to harm His Majesty. Quickly attack. Consort Qing also called out. Buzz, buzz, and NBSP whoosh. Some figures rushed out from behind the king and the imperial advisor. These people all had very powerful auras. Many of them were even in the great circle of the Bright Saint stage and were not any weaker than the 4 great marshals. These people were the powerhouses trained by the imperial family and the imperial advisor respectively. This was their true strength. Many experts joined forces and their powers intertwined. It was like an inescapable net that enveloped Lu Ming. Kill! At this moment, Lu Ming shouted again. The sound waves rolled out and spread out in all directions. Those people who were charging towards him from all 4 directions were exactly the same as the 4 marshals from before. Their bodies trembled and then fell down limply, no longer breathing. This time, even the state preceptor's expression changed, becoming somewhat pale. As for Yen Song and Consort Qing, they were completely terrified. Demon, you're a demon! Yen Song shouted hysterically. Lu Ming had only said one word and so many experts had died in an instant. This was beyond his understanding. At that moment, Lu Ming was a demon in his eyes. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he continued to walk toward Yen Song. Yen Song's body trembled in fear. He retreated continuously and shouted, "Father, Father, save me! He can't touch you!" The imperial advisor said coldly. Then, a shocking aura burst out from his body. This aura was much stronger than anyone else's. Great Saint Realm. Yen Kuei, you have broken through to the Great Saint Realm. Ruan Tianjiao cried out in disbelief. The state preceptor had already broken through to the Great Saint Realm and was known as the #1 master in Mingyan country. She could not help but feel worried for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression did not change at all. It was as if the cultivation of the eminent Saint Realm could not stir up any waves in Lu Ming's heart. Sword brothers, let's attack together. At this moment, the imperial advisors suddenly spoke. I didn't expect that there would be such a person in Ming Yen country. That's good. It's safer to attack together. An old voice came from behind the imperial advisor. Then, 2 old men stepped out and stood with the imperial advisor. Boom, boom. Then, the 2 elders exploded with a terrifying aura. The terrifying aura swept through the wind and clouds, changing the color of the sky. These 2 old men were also in the Great Saint Realm. Like the imperial advisor, they were both in the Great Saint lower tier. At the same time, 2 long swords that looked like water waves floated above the 2 old men's heads. Shui Shui double sword saints, you are the unparalleled sword saints of the Luo Shui kingdom. Yen Kuei, you are the one who colluded with the Luo Shui kingdom. Ruan Tianjiao shouted in shock. The Wushuang sword saint of Luo Shui kingdom was the most terrifying expert in Luo Shui kingdom. 2 top experts in the initial success of the Supreme Saint Realm had appeared beside the imperial advisor at this moment. Needless to say, the imperial advisor had secretly contacted the Luo Shui kingdom. He was the real traitor. So what if I know? Today you will all die. The imperial advisor said coldly. Kill, father, kill this brat. No, cripple him first. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. Yen Song was stunned at first. He had not expected the imperial advisor's cultivation to reach the Great Saint Realm. Moreover, the unparalleled sword saint of the Luo Shui kingdom was also there. However, he was immediately overjoyed and shouted with joy. There were 3 great saints. Lu Ming was dead for sure, no matter what tricks he had up his sleeve. The Great Saint Realm was a legend in Mingyan country. This is your trump card? Lu Ming did not even look at Yen Song as he spoke indifferently. He stretched out a hand and pressed in the air. Boom! In the sky, a huge hand suddenly appeared, covering the sky and the sun. It pressed down on the imperial advisor and the sword saint of Luo Shui kingdom. The terrifying aura spread in all directions, making the imperial advisor and sword saint Wushuang of Luo Shui kingdom turn pale. They felt that this aura was not something they could resist. At this moment, they wanted to escape, but they realized that the space around them seemed to have frozen. They couldn't escape at all. This, Yen Song and Consort Qing were completely stunned. They stared blankly at the godlike hand in the sky. Their bodies trembled like a sieve. This power made them despair. Block it! The imperial advisor howled. He was unwilling to give up, and he still wanted to resist. He formed a seal with his hands and struck out a terrifying palm print. At the same time, the peerless sword saint of the Luoshui kingdom also launched an attack. 2 sword lights rushed into the sky like a river. However, in Lu Ming's hands, a great sage initial mastery was no different from an ant. As the giant hand pressed down, the 3's attacks instantly collapsed. In the end, the giant hand covered the 3 of them and heavily slammed them onto the ground. Boom! The earth rumbled, dust filled the air, and gravel flew everywhere. After a while, the smoke and dust disappeared, and everyone saw a huge palm print on the ground. The imperial advisor, the peerless sword saint of Luoshui kingdom, was lying in the palm print like a dead dog, spitting out blood. Their auras were extremely weak, just like 3 ordinary people. Lu Ming's attack just now had already crippled their cultivation. The imperial advisor's eyes were filled with unwillingness and despair. It was over. He knew that everything was over. All. Yen Song suddenly screamed. His body turned into a streak of rainbow light and fled into the distance. He actually ignored the state preceptor and the others and wanted to escape alone. However, Lu Ming flicked his finger and a force flew out, piercing Yen Song's dantian. It pierced through his dantian and crippled his cultivation. With his cultivation crippled, Yen Song could no longer fly. He fell heavily to the ground and let out a hysterical scream. "You're the only one left." Lu Ming walked toward Consort Qing and the monarch. "How dare you touch my beloved concubine? I'll exterminate your entire family." The king shouted and stood in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming shook his head. The country ruler had completely lost his mind. There was no point in keeping him alive. Lu Ming flicked his fingers and a stream of energy shot out, piercing the area between the country ruler's eyebrows and killing him. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1944. The Empress? Chapter 1944. The Empress. After killing the monarch, Lu Ming turned to Consort Qing. Consort Qing's eyes were filled with endless fear. She looked at Lu Ming and suddenly smiled. "Young master is so young, but you have such cultivation. One really admire you." Oh, Lu Ming said softly. "Yen Kuei and his son committed treason and killed the king. Fortunately, young master killed them to avenge the king. With young master's cultivation, it is enough to rule Ming Yen country. I am willing to help young master ascend to the throne and serve you with all my heart." Consort Qing's voice was melodious. Her alluring body wriggled like a water snake as she was about to pounce into Lu Ming's arms. At the same time, she looked into Lu Ming's eyes with a strange glint. "You're overestimating yourself by casting a bewitching technique on me." "I'm sorry," Lu Ming said calmly. When he finished the last word, his eyes shone like stars. Consort Qing let out a blood-curdling screech as her body was sent flying. She fell to the ground and vomited a large mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale, and she looked desperate. Her cultivation had also been crippled. Lu Ming smiled faintly. This woman had actually used a bewitching technique on him. She was overestimating herself. Lu Ming had only circulated some of his energy and she had suffered a backlash, crippling her cultivation. Lu Ming took a step forward and stood above the state preceptor. He looked down at the state preceptor and said indifferently, "Your scheme is not bad, but unfortunately, you are too weak. What's the use of all your schemes? The heavens are not protecting me." The imperial advisor shouted. His voice was exhausted, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness and despair. He had racked his brains to set up this trap. It was originally flawless, and Yuan Tianjiao had no chance of turning the tables. In the future, Ming Yen country would definitely fall into his hands. He had never expected that Lu Ming would come out of nowhere and destroy all his plans with absolute power. In the face of absolute power, all schemes were laughable. He finally understood why Lu Ming had been drinking his wine calmly and not saying a word when they were following the plan step by step. They were looking at them as if they were clowns. Lu Ming would let them play around. When they thought that the overall situation was set, he would take action and easily destroy all their plans, efforts, and setups. He could only blame the heavens for not protecting him. Why did a person like Lu Ming appear? Who are you? Is there no one like you in the vast C9 nations? The imperial advisor shouted unwillingly. You don't have the right to know who I am. Lu Ming said calmly. Lu Ming then looked at Ruan Tianjiao and said, Sky Flood Dragon, what's the next step? At this moment, Ruan Tianjiao seemed to wake up from a dream. The shock that Lu Ming gave her was too strong. She was shocked that a great saint could not put up any resistance in Lu Ming's hands. He could kill them with a flip of his hand. Kill them all. Ruan Tianjiao coldly spoke. Since things had already come to this, there was no way out. After making her decision, Ruan Tianjiao transformed into an iron-blooded general. She stepped forward and her sword light burst forth, killing the imperial advisor, Yen Song, and consort Qing. There were even some members of the imperial family who were killed by her. At random, Ruan Tianjiao transformed into a god of death and secretly killed his way into the depths of the imperial palace, killing all the upper echelons of the imperial family. Since he had already come this far, Ruan Tianjiao understood that there was no way out. After that, Ruan Tianjiao took the body of the unparalleled sword saint of the Luoshui kingdom and stood on the city tower of Barren City. He announced to the world that the imperial advisor had rebelled and colluded with the four great marshals and consort Qing to kill the monarch and the core members of the royal family in an attempt to usurp the throne. Later on, Ruan Tianjiao arrived and killed the imperial advisor as well as a group of rebels. Unfortunately, it was already too late to reverse the situation. Once the news was out, the world was shocked. After a few days, the entire Divine Dragon army killed their way to the capital and took control of it. However, the armies of the other four marshals also announced to the world that everything was Ruan Tianjiao's scheme. It was Ruan Tianjiao who had killed the imperial advisor and the king with the intention of usurping the throne. He had also led the army to attack the Divine Dragon army in the name of avenging the king. However, the four great army corps had lost a powerhouse at the level of a marshal, so their cohesion was greatly weakened. Furthermore, the Divine Dragon army had cultivated the true dragon battle formation, so their combat power was strong. They easily defeated the four major armies and subdued them. At this point, the entire Ming Yan country was under Ruan Tianjiao's control. A few days later, the Divine Flood Dragon military headquarters used the reason that the country could not go a day without a ruler to invite Ruan Tianjiao to ascend the throne. However, Ruan Tianjiao rejected them. After a few more days, the generals tried to persuade him again, but he was still rejected by Ruan Tianjiao. The third time, it was not just the generals, but also countless people who came to petition for Ruan Tianjiao to take the throne and rule Ming Yan country. In the past, when the imperial advisor of Ming Yan country was in power, his reputation was ruined. Now that the imperial advisor had been killed, the people were all celebrating. As for Ruan Tianjiao, she had always had the title of the goddess of war and was deeply loved by the people. The people naturally hoped that Ruan Tianjiao would take control of Ming Yan country. Only then did Ruan Tianjiao agree to inherit the throne and become empress. Ming Yan country was extremely lively as they began to prepare for the ascension ceremony. Naturally, Lu Ming would not interfere in these matters. To the Ming Yan country, he was just a passerby who would leave very soon. Now, he only had to wait for the Nine Nations Alliance before heading to the Divine Time Island to explore the Divine Time Mountain. During this period of time, he had been cultivating quietly. But not long after, a piece of news came. The Luoshui kingdom mobilized their army and rode the cross-sea warship to attack the Ming Yan kingdom. The entire Ming Yan country was shocked. The power of the Luoshui country had always been above that of the Ming Yan country. They had always wanted to swallow up the Ming Yan country. In recent years, the two countries had been at war. Ruan Tianjiao immediately ordered the army to attack the Luoshui kingdom. Lu Ming also set off with the army. When they arrived at the northern part of Ming Yan country, they saw a few huge warships flying over. In front of the warships was a dense army riding all kinds of strange beasts. The army was very powerful. Our country, Luoshui, has been on good terms with the country of Ming Yan for generations. It is unforgivable for traitors and traitors to usurp the throne. Today, The country of Luoshui has come to seek revenge from the king of Mingyan. A voice came from the Luoshui kingdom's army. How shameless! Yuan Tianjiao shook his head. The Luoshui kingdom and the Mingyan kingdom had been at war for a long time. The Luoshui kingdom had been trying to invade the Mingyan kingdom. Now, in the mouth of the people of the Luoshui kingdom, it had become a good relationship between the two countries. If you want to find a reason to attack our country, you should find a better one. This reason is really laughable. Yuan Tianjiao's voice rang out. Traitors, you still think you're in the right? Today is the day you die. The commander of the Luoshui kingdom ordered the army to form a battle formation and charge toward the Mingyan kingdom. Set up the formation and kill the enemy. Yuan Tianjiao gave the order, and the divine dragon army set up a large formation. Immediately, a true dragon appeared and roared towards the sky with an astonishing aura. Such a large formation. The commander of the Luoshui kingdom was shocked. Boom! The armies of the two countries clashed together. Although the divine dragon army had fewer people, the true dragon battle formation was too powerful. When the two armies collided, the true dragon roared and clawed down, tearing a hole in the enemy battle formation. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1945. The Nine Nations Alliance. Chapter 1945. The Nine Nations Alliance. The army was defeated like a mountain. The Luoshui kingdom's army had not even clashed with the divine dragon army a few times before they were torn apart and their battle formation was broken. The true dragon roared as its huge dragon claw stomped down. A large number of soldiers were killed by the dragon claw, and blood chi filled the air. Run! The battle formation was broken, and it was even more impossible to resist the divine dragon army. People were constantly killed, and the remaining people were scared out of their wits and fled frantically. Damn it, kill! A loud roar came from Luoshui kingdom. An armored general rushed out, giving off a shocking aura. This person was an eminent saint stage powerhouse. Luoshui country was much stronger than Mingyan country. They had many supreme saints, unlike Mingyan country, which only had the imperial advisor. I'll play with you. Lu Ming took a step forward and waved his hand. A huge palm was formed and pressed down on the other party. All not good. The other party was so frightened that his soul flew away. He wanted to escape, but he was directly hit by a palm, and his body was torn into pieces. Within the army, Yuan Tianjiao was secretly shocked. Lu Ming was simply unfathomable. He could kill a great saint with a lift of his hand. What level was Lu Ming at? Great sage perfection? Or an absolute saint? Yuan Tianjiao was extremely curious, but then he shook his head. How could such a young absolute saint be possible? She estimated that Lu Ming's cultivation base was at the peak of the Great Saint realm or the Great Saint Perfection realm. This was already very shocking. There was no longer any suspense in this battle. The army of the Luoshui kingdom was defeated like a landslide. Almost all of the soldiers were wiped out. The remaining people either surrendered or fled. The few huge warships also belonged to the Mingyan kingdom. The divine dragon army had defeated the Luoshui kingdom. When the news spread, the entire country celebrated. Yuan Tianjiao's reputation had also reached its peak. Taking this opportunity, Yuan Tianjiao ascended the throne and became the only empress of Mingyan country in so many years. In the days that followed, Lu Ming cultivated in peace. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At this moment, the day of the Nine Nations Alliance had finally arrived. The Vast Sea was the name of this sea. There were 9 countries in total, called the 9 countries of the Vast Sea. The country of Mingyan and the country of Luoshui were both part of the 9 countries of the Vast Sea. The purpose of this meeting was to select the people who would go to Divine Light Island. It was said that if one headed to the Divine Time Island, there was a high chance that one would be accepted as a disciple by the experts there. That would be a meteoric rise. The Divine Time Island was the most powerful force in the 10,000 Sea realm. It was a holy land of martial arts in everyone's heart. And the location of this meeting was in the capital of Blue Water Country, one of the 9 countries. The Blue Water Country was the strongest country among the 9 countries and had always been the alliance leader of the 9-country alliance. Yuan Tianjiao selected a group of strong people and headed to Blue Water Country with Lu Ming. After a dozen days, they arrived at the capital of Blue Water Country. A few days later, the 9 Nations Alliance was convened. In the square in front of the Blue Water Kingdom's imperial palace, rows of tables and chairs were arranged. The kings of the 9 nations of the vast sea, as well as some experts, were all seated. Blue Water Country's people sat at the head of the table, representing their status as the alliance leader. All right, this time's alliance meeting will be the same as before. It's to select the candidates to enter the Divine Time Island. Our 9 nations will only have a total of 100 slots. A deep voice came from the Blue Water Country. It was the king of Blue Water Country. He looked to be in his 50s. He was burly and full of majesty. In my opinion, there should only be 8 countries this time. The Mingyan country does not have the right to participate in this alliance meeting at all. They also do not have the right to go to the Divine Time Island. A cold voice came from the right. The one who spoke was a thin middle-aged man, the king of Luoshui Kingdom. The carefully planned plan of the Luoshui Kingdom for many years had been destroyed. Several supreme saints had died in a row, and their strength had weakened a lot. At this time, how could they not target the Mingyan Kingdom? My Mingyan country does not have the right to make an alliance? Do you think you have the final say? Yuan Tianjiao coldly spoke. That goes without saying. You, Yuan Tianjiao, have the ambition of a wolf. You killed the king of Mingyan and replaced him. How can such a person be qualified to participate in the alliance meeting? The king of Luoshui opened his mouth coldly and continued to sneer. The 9 nations of the vast sea have a long history. The royal family of each nation has a noble bloodline. Who are you, Yuan Tianjiao? What right do you have to rule the Mingyan country? Your Luoshui country colluded with the state preceptor of my Mingyan country and wanted to harm the former king, making the Mingyan country miserable. Later, you wanted to harm me. How can one not resist? Yuan Tianjiao sneered. Rebellion is rebellion. No matter how much you say, you can't escape the fact of rebellion. Luo Water King shouted coldly. Then he looked at Blue Water King and said, Brother Tsang, does Yuan Tianjiao from Mingyan country have the right to participate in the alliance meeting? Do one have the qualifications to head to the Divine Time Island? The king of Blue Water Country remained calm and said, The Divine Time Island is a sacred place. Traders truly do not have the right to go there. Everyone from the Mingyan country, please return. The Blue Water Country ruler's words clearly showed that he was on the side of the Luoshui Kingdom. This made Yuan Tianjiao's face turn ugly. As for the people from the other countries, they were all gloating. With the departure of Mingyan country, they would have one less competitor, so they were naturally happy to see that. What a joke. At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly and his disdainful voice spread throughout the entire venue. Who do you think you are? When did it become your turn to interrupt when the country rulers are talking? The king of Luoshui cast a glance at Lu Ming and chided him. However, Lu Ming did not even bother to look at the Luoshui Kingdom monarch. He treated him as heir. What's so funny? The king of Vast Water Country looked at Lu Ming and asked coldly. Speaking of rebellion, which of the founding fathers of the 9 nations are not traitors? If they had not rebelled, how could the 9 nations exist today? Lu Ming said indifferently. Tens of thousands of years ago, there were no 9 nations in the Songhai Ocean. There was only one nation, and that was the Songhai nation. At that time, the vast sea kingdom ruled the current territory of the 9 nations. Later on, the ancestors of the 9 nations betrayed the vast sea kingdom and destroyed it, leading to the current vast sea 9 nations. It could be said that the ancestors of the 9 nations were all traitors. How audacious! Impudent, you're looking for death. Those who insult our ancestors will be killed without mercy. One by one, the country rulers roared and their powerful auras enveloped Lu Ming. You are all traitors, what right do you have to speak of the fire country? If the Mingyan country is not qualified, then all of you are not qualified. Lu Ming was still calm and his voice was filled with contempt. You're looking for death. From the Tsangshui kingdom side, an old man flew out, his cold killing intent undisguisable. A terrifying sword light bloomed from his hand, heading towards Lu Ming. This person had the cultivation of a great circle bright saint. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted loudly. The other party's sword gleam collapsed. His body trembled violently and he flew back at a speed faster than when he came. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The eyes of the kings of the various countries and the other experts all narrowed, revealing a trace of seriousness. A loud shout had injured a great circle bright saint. Could it be that this person had the cultivation of a great saint at such a young age? Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1946. Chapter 1946. Inspiring. Chapter 1946. Chapter 1946. Awe-inspiring. In particular, the king of Luoshui was shocked. Could it be that the continuous deaths of several people in Luoshui kingdom were caused by this person? For a moment, all the powerhouses seemed to have forgotten to speak. Lu Ming stood up and looked around. His eyes were as bright as the stars. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Take a blood oath. From today on, the country of Mingyan will be the leader of the 9 nations of the vast sea. Ruan Tianjiao will be the leader. This time, the quota for the Divine Time Island will be decided by the Mingyan country. After the incident with the state preceptor, Lu Ming understood that there was no need to listen to these people's nonsense. It was a waste of time to waste time talking to them. It was better to use force to intimidate them. After Lu Ming finished speaking, the people from the other 8 nations were stunned. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze, as if they were looking at a fool. If he wasn't a fool, what was he? He wanted them to take a blood oath and make the country of Mingyan the alliance leader. He also wanted the country of Mingyan to arrange the spots for the Divine Light and Divine Island. This was simply ridiculous, a big joke. Did Lu Ming really think that he was invincible just because he could injure a perfected bright saint with a single shout? It was simply laughable. Especially the people from Blue Water Country, their faces were particularly gloomy. The leader of the alliance of the 9 countries had always been the Blue Water Country. What did the Mingyan country mean? He even wanted to usurp the position of the alliance master of the 9 nations? He didn't know what was good for him. In my opinion, this kid is completely crazy. He's talking nonsense here. Mingyan country is beyond saving. Why don't we directly send experts to destroy Mingyan country and support another person to rule Mingyan country? The king of Luoshui kingdom said coldly. So much nonsense. Since this is the case, I hereby announce that the Luoshui kingdom is eliminated. They are no longer qualified to join the 9 Nations Alliance and are no longer qualified to set foot on the Divine Time Island. Get lost. Lu Ming glanced at the kingdom of Luoshui and said coldly. Once again, everyone looked at Lu Ming as if he was an idiot. This was especially true for the people of Luoshui. You're not leaving, right? If you're not leaving, then clean it up. Lu Ming said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step in the direction of Luoshui kingdom. Arrogant. Kill him. The king of Luoshui kingdom shouted coldly. A few experts immediately charged out from behind him. 2 great sages in the lower tier and 3 in the great circle of the Bright Saint realm were the only top masters left in the Luoshui kingdom. The 5 experts joined forces and their aura was shocking. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. That brat is dead. A king of a certain country had a sneer on his face, but the next moment, the sneer on his face disappeared and was replaced with shock, extreme shock. Lu Ming threw a punch, and the void trembled violently. The air was compressed together and then exploded, forming a terrifying fist force. As the fist force crushed over, the 5 powerhouses of the Luoshui kingdom were directly blown apart, leaving no bones behind. Hiss hiss hiss, gasps of shock could be heard as everyone's expression froze. No, after a long time, the king of Luoshui kingdom let out a miserable scream. These 5 people were the 5 strongest people in the Luoshui kingdom. With their death, the strength of the Luoshui kingdom would weaken sharply and become the weakest kingdom among the 9 kingdoms. Sooner or later, it would be swallowed up by other kingdoms. his heart ached so much that it was about to bleed. However, when he saw Lu Ming continue to walk toward him, he was frightened and shouted, "Brother Tsang, save me. This man is lawless. We must get rid of him. Stop!" Blue Water Country ruler roared. However, Lu Ming did not seem to hear him. He took a step forward and appeared beside the king of Luoshui Kingdom. The king of Luoshui Kingdom wanted to escape, but Lu Ming took a step forward. The king of Luoshui screamed in pain as Lu Ming stepped on his face heavily. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and his body twitched nonstop. "Impudent! Kill him!" The king of Vast Water Country was furious. He had already told Lu Ming to stop, but Lu Ming did not even bother with him. "Kill! Kill!" Two loud shouts came from Blue Water Country as two figures stepped out, and a terrifying aura bloomed in the void. "Great Saint Peak, Great Saint Perfection!" Someone exclaimed in shock. The people from the other countries were secretly trembling. Blue Water Country was indeed the leader of the 9 countries. For tens of thousands of years, they had been sitting on the throne of the 9 countries. Their strength was amazing. They were great saints in the great mastery and peak of the great saint realm. Such an expert could destroy a small country by himself. Ruan Tianjiao and the other people from Ming Yen country couldn't help but feel nervous. Although Lu Ming was powerful, he was no match for a great saint at the peak. But in the face of such an expert, they were powerless to help and could only watch. The two Blue Water Country experts were approaching Lu Ming rapidly. "Let go of King of Luoshui, die!" The great Saint Peak shouted and pointed his finger in the air. A terrifying finger force pierced through Lu Ming's forehead. "You're seeking your own death," Lu Ming said coldly and then threw another punch. This punch was even more terrifying than the previous one. The void trembled and crushed over. The body of the great sage peak expert exploded directly. Even the great sage great mastery behind him was crushed into pieces. At this moment, everyone present was trembling in their hearts and bodies. They were trembling uncontrollably. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Ming, unable to move an inch. One punch after another, the great Saint Peak was crushed into pieces, just like the great Saint initial mastery. It was as if in Lu Ming's hands, there was no difference in the cultivation of those people. Strong, too strong. Lu Ming is too strong. Beside Ruan Tianjiao, the voices of a few of his subordinates trembled. It was unknown if they were excited or excited. "Lu Ming, what is your limit?" Ruan Tianjiao's voice was trembling. The longer she spent time with Lu Ming, the more she realized that Lu Ming was unfathomable. It was as if Lu Ming's combat power was limitless. From the moment he knew Lu Ming, no matter what kind of opponent he faced, Lu Ming was always calm and composed. He did not even need to use a second move to kill his opponent. The king of Luoshui Kingdom trembled under Lu Ming's feet and broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, he was almost scared to death. What kind of terrifying monster was this? There was no way to resist it. "I surrender. I swear to follow the Ming Yen country for the rest of my life, and regard the Ming Yen country as the alliance leader." The monarch of the fallen nations shouted, afraid that Lu Ming would stomp him to death. Lu Ming did not even look at him. He looked at the Blue Water Country and said, "It seems that Blue Water Country also wants to be eliminated. Then I'll fulfill your wish." Then he stepped out and headed toward Blue Water Country. Song Water Country ruler's face turned pale. A peak great saint was the most powerful person in Blue Water Country, but in front of Lu Ming he was killed in an instant. "Lu Ming, it's better to quit while you're ahead. Otherwise, it won't be good for both of us," the king of Vast Water Country said. "Oh really? I'm a little curious, how can you not give me any benefits?" There was a faint smile on Lu Ming's face as he continued to walk forward. Blue Water Country ruler's expression changed. Then he suddenly stood up and cupped his hands to the two old men behind him. "Two seniors, please kill this man. Blue Water Country will reward you handsomely." Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1947. Chapter 1947. Bootlicking? Chapter 1947. Chapter 1947 Bootlicking. Blue Water Country ruler bowed to the two old men sitting behind him. His attitude was so respectful that it was shocking. Blue Water Country was ranked first in the vast C9 nations, and was also the most powerful person in the vast C9 nations. Who could make him lower his stance so low? Everyone's eyes fell on the two old men, but the two old men's faces were very ugly. A faint smile hung on Lu Ming's face. He looked at the two elders and said, "Are you sure you want to make a move?" The two elders forced a smile and stood up to cup their fists at Lu Ming. One of them said, "Young Master Lu, you must be joking. We wouldn't dare to fight you." That's right, these two elders were also outsiders. When they first entered, they appeared on the same island as Lu Ming. They had seen Lu Ming kill the emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow clan with their own eyes. They were only at the perfected absolute saint realm. How would they dare to fight Lu Ming? They were just courting death. The two old men's attitude made the Blue Water Country ruler's body freeze as he looked at the two old men in disbelief. These two old men had appeared in Blue Water Country some time ago, and the strength they had displayed was simply world-shaking and unfathomable. He was shocked and regarded them as supreme powers. However, such a person was trembling in fear in front of Lu Ming. How was this possible? Who was that young man? Blue Water Country ruler's heart continued to sink. You guys also want to go to the Time God Mountain, right? Lu Ming continued, and the two elders nodded. Very good. Now all of you attack and kill them. I'll give you 2 spots. Lu Ming said coldly, pointing at the Blue Water Country ruler and the group of experts. Blue Water Country ruler's expression changed as he shouted, "Senior, don't. Kill. Kill." The two old men looked at each other, then burst out and attacked the Blue Water King and the others. In the face of an absolute saint in the Great Circle, the Blue Water Country ruler and the other experts could not resist at all and were killed immediately. Even the great saints were the same. They had no power to resist. In an instant, the Blue Water Country ruler and all the experts were killed. The ones with weaker cultivation were left trembling, their faces pale. So strong. At the scene, the people from the other countries looked at the two old men in shock. The cultivation of the two elders was unfathomable. There were many great saints in Blue Water Country, but they were all killed by the two elders in an instant. However, such an expert was very respectful in front of Lu Ming and addressed him as young Master Lu. Many people's hearts trembled, and they began to sweat. In particular, the other 7 nations were secretly glad that they did not offend Lu Ming just now. Otherwise, they would be in deep trouble. At this moment, the monarch of the fallen nations was trembling all over and his face was pale. He was afraid that Lu Ming would lull him with a wave of his hand. Ruan Tianjiao and the people from Ming Yen country were also shocked. What was Lu Ming's identity? Even 2 powerful elders were so respectful to him. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in their eyes. I just said that the Ming Yen country will be the leader of the 9 countries. The Divine Time Islands quota will be decided by the Ming Yen country. Do you have any objections? Lu Ming said calmly, his gaze sweeping across the entire scene. One have no objections, not at all. Young Master Lu is unparalleled and unparalleled in the world. He rules over the 9 nations. If anyone has any objections, 111 be the first one to kill them. The king of Luoshui Kingdom finally seized the opportunity and was the first one to shout and flatter Lu Ming. Many people secretly cursed the Luoshui king for being shameless. Previously, he had ridiculed Lu Ming as a fool and wondered if he was crazy. Now, he immediately elevated Lu Ming to the sky. No objections. Blue Water Country thinks they have some strength and is overbearing. They should have given up the position of alliance leader long ago. That's right. It's just right for the Ming Yen country to be the alliance leader. The spots for the Divine Time Island will also be decided by the Ming Yen country. The rulers of the other 7 kingdoms also began to speak up and flatter him. What a joke! Lu Ming was so capable. They did not dare to disagree. In the world of martial Tao, no matter where one was, there was a rule that followed. The weak were prey to the strong. Only strength was the truth. Take a blood oath. Otherwise, when one leave, Who knows if you will attack the Mingyan country? Lu Ming said indifferently. I don't dare, I don't dare. Whoever dares to attack Mingyan country, 111 fight them to the death. Those country rulers all expressed their position and then took a blood oath to wholeheartedly support the Mingyan country as the alliance leader. They would not have any second thoughts. At this moment, their lives were more important, so they didn't dare to have any objections. Just like that, Yuan Tianjiao sat on the throne of the alliance leader of the 9 nations. During this period of time, she felt like she was in a dream. First, he sat on the throne of Mingyan country, and then he sat on the throne of the alliance of 9 countries. If he had not experienced it himself, how could he believe it? Lu Ming, who are you? Yuan Tianjiao muttered. She sighed in her heart. That day, she had relied on her intuition to keep Lu Ming by her side. It was the best decision she had ever made in her life. It was also the most important decision. Otherwise, she would have been killed by the state preceptor. What happened next was simple. Yuan Tianjiao sat on the alliance leader's throne and chose a prince with a weaker cultivation in Blue Water Country to help him sit on the throne. This person naturally listened to Yuan Tianjiao's orders. He then began to select the candidates for the Divine Time Island. After everything was over, they settled down in the Blue Water Nation and waited for the arrival of the emissaries from the Time God Island. In a huge courtyard, Lu Ming and Yuan Tianjiao were drinking. Heavenly Flood Dragon, your spiritual body should be a low-grade heavenly spiritual body, right? Lu Ming said. Yes, I am. Yuan Tianjiao nodded. Yuan Tianjiao's spiritual body was extremely rare in the vast C9 nations. Otherwise, he would not have been able to cultivate to the great circle of the Bright Saint stage at such a young age and be known as the war goddess of the Bright Flame country. I have a treasure that can allow your spirit body to evolve. However, how much you can gain will depend on you. Lu Ming said. He planned to use the Da Yen pill furnace to help Yuan Tianjiao temper his spirit body. Knowing each other was fate. He wanted to help Yuan Tianjiao increase his strength as much as possible. Otherwise, when he left, Yuan Tianjiao's strength would not be enough to intimidate the experts from other countries. It can evolve spirit bodies? Yuan Tianjiao revealed a shocked expression. There was actually such a treasure in the world. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The Dian elixir furnace appeared and fell to the ground. The process of tempering with pill fire will be very painful. If you can't help it, tell me. Lu Ming said. So what if it's painful? Yuan Tianjiao smiled and entered the Dian elixir furnace. Lu Ming waved his hand and threw in a large amount of sacred medicine, helping Yuan Tianjiao to temper his spiritual body. Yuan Tianjiao's willpower was very strong. Every time he persevered to the end. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Yuan Tianjiao's spiritual body had successfully evolved into a medium-grade heaven spiritual body. Due to the evolution of her spiritual body, her cultivation had also broken through to the Supreme Saint realm. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1948, Coming to the Divine Time Island. Chapter 1948, Coming to the Divine Time Island. After Yuan Tianjiao broke through, Lu Ming took out 2 absolute saint weapons and gave them to him. Lu Ming was only at ease after that. With Yuan Tianjiao's current cultivation of Great Saint lower tier, coupled with a medium heavenly spiritual body and an absolute saint weapon, it was enough to compete with a Great Saint peak. In the vast C9 nations, there was no opponent. It was enough to deter other countries and secure the throne of the alliance leader. Half a month later, a warship came through the air and stopped above Blue Water Country's capital. The emissary from the Divine Time Island had arrived. The 100 people heading to the Divine Time Island were all prepared. Most of them were young people. That was because it was said that if one headed to the Divine Light Divine Island, one would be able to receive guidance from a powerful existence on the Divine Time Island. If one was lucky, one might even be taken in as a disciple by an expert of the Divine Time Island and cultivate there. Yuan Tianjiao was also on the list. She was a rare heavens chosen. Naturally, she wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity to head to the Divine Time Island. Everyone boarded the warship. Then, the warship soared into the sky and disappeared from the sea of the vast Nine Nations. The speed of the battleship was astonishing, and it streaked through the air like a streak of light. He stood on the warship and looked down at the vast sea below. In an instant, he had left. This time, they flew for more than 10 days before the warship suddenly slowed down. "We're about to reach the Divine Time Island." The emissary from the Divine Time Island spoke. "We're almost there?" Everyone was stunned because when they looked around, there was no sign of an island. As far as the eye could see, there was only the boundless ocean and no island at all. Buzz. At this moment, the warship trembled slightly, as if it had passed through some barrier. The next moment, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. A huge island had appeared in the air in front of them. This island was actually floating in the air. On a floating island. So there's a formation. Lu Ming smiled faintly. There was a powerful array set up in this sea region. Without special means, one would not be able to enter at all. Neither would one be able to see the Divine Time Island. No wonder there were rumors that without the guidance of the emissaries of the Divine Time Island, no one would be able to find the location of the Divine Time Island. The warship flew into the Divine Time Island and stopped at an empty space. Everyone disembarked. "Come with me, I'll bring you to your living quarters. In a few days, there will be experts from the Divine Island to test you." After the messenger finished speaking, he flew forward. The group followed, and not long after, they arrived at a place filled with palaces. At a glance, it was a huge palace. Each palace was separated by a distance and looked quite luxurious. Every palace here has a marked name. All of you from the 9 nations of the vast sea live in a palace. Go and find it yourself. The messenger left these words and soared into the sky, leaving this place. Everyone descended and began to search the various palaces. The 6 kingdoms of the Quan Ocean. The 3 countries of the Ying Sea. Xianling Kingdom. They saw different signs outside the different palaces. Not long after, they arrived at a palace. The words on the door of the palace read, "The vast sea 9 nations." They had arrived at their palace. However, the palace's door was open, which made them slightly stunned. Logically speaking, they had not moved in yet, so the door should be closed. Everyone's heart flashed with curiosity, and then they walked in. As soon as they entered, they saw a few figures sitting in the courtyard and drinking tea. When they saw Lu Ming and the rest enter, they looked at them with lightning-like eyes. "This place is already our residence, you guys should get lost." A tall young man waved his hand casually, as if he was chasing away a group of country bumpkins. His tone made the people of the vast sea 9 nations look a little unhappy. "Everyone, it's clearly written here that this is the palace of the vast sea 9 nations. Are you in the wrong place?" Yuan Tianjiao cupped his fists. "Do you think I'm blind? Of course I know that this is the palace of the 9 nations of the vast sea, but now it belongs to our Xianling kingdom. We have many people, and the original palace can't accommodate all of us. As for you, you can find a place to live in the wilderness." The tall young man said casually. The faces of Yuan Tianjiao and the others turned ugly. However, at the same time, they were also shocked. Xianling Kingdom was a kingdom that was extremely powerful and ruled a vast territory. Even if the 9 nations of the vast sea were to join forces, they would still be far inferior. "Everyone, this is the palace that the Divine Time Island has given to us, the vast sea 9 nations. It's not very good for you to occupy it like this. If we report this to the Divine Time Island, even the mysterious Spirit Kingdom will not be able to explain it." Yuan Tianjiao said with a dark expression. "Are you threatening me?" The eyes of the tall youth flashed with sharpness as he stared at Yuan Tianjiao. "I wouldn't dare," Yuan Tianjiao said. "If you don't dare, then get lost." The tall youth berated. "Then we can only look for the emissaries of the temporal island." Yuan Tianjiao said coldly and was about to turn around and leave. "Impudent!" The tall young man shouted and suddenly stood up. A powerful aura spread out and he scolded, "You really don't want the face one gave you. You're just a piece of trash in the vast sea 9 nations, and you dare to threaten me." With every sentence he spoke, the tall young man took a step forward. His aura became stronger and stronger, causing many people from the vast C9 nations to have ugly expressions. The Great Saint Realm. The tall young man looked so young, but he had already reached the cultivation of the Great Saint Realm. It was truly shocking. As expected of the Xianling kingdom, the tall youth's eyes were indifferent and aloof as he glanced at Ruan Tianjiao. "You're a pretty woman. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and admit your mistake. Serve me for a few days, and I'll let this matter go." Damn it. A young man from Ming Yen country was furious. The other party was clearly the one who occupied their residence. Ruan Tianjiao merely said that he wanted to find an emissary from the Time God Palace, yet the other party was already overbearing, actually wanting Ruan Tianjiao to kneel and apologize, as well as serve him for a few days. What did they do wrong? It was clearly the other party's fault. What did you just say? You're looking for death. The tall young man's eyes were like knives as he looked at the young man from Mingyan country. Then he took a step forward and pounced toward the young man from Mingyan country like lightning. A terrifying knife light slashed toward the young man. This was a sure kill technique. If it hit, death was certain. The tall young man was too overbearing. He wanted to kill someone just because of a word of disagreement. At this time, Ruan Tianjiao's figure moved, and the sword light in his hand bloomed, slashing at the tall youth's saber light. Clang! The blade and sword collided. The tall youth's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. Ruan Tianjiao had blocked his attack. "How dare you fight back? I'll kill you first. Die!" The tall youth shouted coldly, and an astonishing attack erupted as he charged towards Ruan Tianjiao. In an instant he slashed out hundreds of blades, and heavy blade rays enveloped Ruan Tianjiao. However, Ruan Tianjiao's expression was calm, and a dragon's roar came from his body. The battle sword in his hand slashed out, and a sword light turned into a huge dragon shadow. The dragon shadow pounced forward and all the blade lights were shattered. The tall young man's body was forced back a dozen steps and a trace of blood spilled from his mouth. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1949. Chapter 1949, Blown Up. Chapter 1949. Chapter 1949 blown up in just one move, the tall young man was at a disadvantage and spat out blood. The tall youth's cultivation was the same as Ruan Tianjiao's. They were both at the great sage lower mastery. However, the tall youth's spiritual body was only a low-tier heaven spiritual body, while Ruan Tianjiao's spiritual body was a medium-tier heaven spiritual body. The other party was naturally no match for him. "You're looking for death." The tall young man roared, his eyes filled with killing intent. An ant from the vast C9 nations had actually injured him. This was unforgivable. Before this, he was still acting high and mighty, looking down on the people of the vast sea and the 9 nations. But now, he was injured by Ruan Tianjiao. If he had lost at the hands of an elder, it would still be acceptable. However, Ruan Tianjiao's age looked even younger than him. This made him feel like he had lost all face. "Kill. All of you will die today." The tall youth roared and once again charged at Ruan Tianjiao, but after a few moves, he was forced back by Ruan Tianjiao. "How dare you hurt the heavenly beauty of our mysterious spirit kingdom? You deserve to die." On the other side, the other people who were with the tall young man also stood up with cold expressions. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. More and more people rushed out of the palace. A few of them were elders with powerful auras. "I told you to get lost. If you don't get lost, you're simply seeking your own death." One of the old men had a cold expression as he stepped towards Ruan Tianjiao. His terrifying aura pressed down on Ruan Tianjiao, forcing him to retreat. "Absolute saint." Ruan Tianjiao's voice interrupted and he couldn't help but cry out. The other members of the vast C9 nations also had a drastic change in their expressions. Xianling Kingdom was so powerful that even absolute saints were here. "Let me do it, let's go," Lu Ming said. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Ruan Tianjiao, blocking his aura. At this moment, Lu Ming was rather speechless. Why was it that no matter where he went, he would always encounter such a self-proclaimed idiot? In fact, there were many people like that in this world. With a little power and status, they would look down on those of lower status and feel superior in front of them. Whenever he met someone of a higher status, he would immediately change into a humble appearance. There were too many people like this. Looking at Lu Ming's back view, Ruan Tianjiu's heart suddenly calmed down for some reason. "They'll give you one last chance, get lost," Lu Ming said calmly. "Little bastard, are you crazy? Since you want to die, you'll fulfill your wish first." The Absolute Saint Elder's eyes flashed coldly as he struck his palm at Lu Ming. The palm force struck down, and the space howled wildly. The people from Xianling Kingdom smiled smugly. Lu Ming would definitely die under this palm. They seemed to be able to see Lu Ming being killed. But the next moment, their smiles froze. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed the elder's palm. The elder's palm stopped in the air. The old man's expression changed to one of fear. No matter how he unleashed his holy power, Lu Ming's palm did not move an inch. How was this possible? He was an absolute saint, a high and mighty absolute saint. How old was Lu Ming? How could he have such abilities? "I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. How sad," Lu Ming said coldly. His holy power burst out and he swung it. The old man's body was thrown out and smashed heavily on the floor. The ground rumbled and the floor cracked. The old man's body was embedded in the huge pit, twitching continuously. Everyone's expression froze. Even the people from the vast C9 nations knew that Lu Ming's abilities were unfathomable. However, to witness a legendary absolute saint being smashed to the ground by Lu Ming so easily, to the point that he was half dead, was still a shocking scene. In Xianling Kingdom, the tall young man's face was pale and his body was trembling. He found it hard to believe that there was such a powerful figure in the 9 nations of the vast sea who could defeat an absolute saint with one move. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and landed heavily on the absolute saint elder. The terrifying power shattered the absolute saint elder's saint heart. His saint heart was broken, and his cultivation was destroyed. The absolute saint elder screamed in despair. "You're looking for death." Another elder from Xianling Kingdom shouted, his voice spreading far and wide. "Bush, bush." In the next moment, the sound of air being torn could be heard as many figures descended. These were the powerhouses of the mysterious spirit kingdom. They had been staying in their own palaces and not here. When they arrived and learned that Lu Ming had crippled an absolute saint, they were shocked and filled with cold killing intent. "How dare you offend our mysterious spirit kingdom?" An old woman with snow-white hair shouted. Her killing intent was like a blade. The Xianling Kingdom was one of the most powerful kingdoms in the entire 10,000 sea realm. It was one of the few big kingdoms and could almost dominate the entire 10,000 sea realm, except for the Time Island. Now, a mere vast C9 nations actually dared to cripple a person from Xianling Kingdom. They were simply courting death. In an instant, at least 10 ultimate saints released their auras, and a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. The 2 old men from the vast C9 nations shook their heads speechlessly. They knew Lu Ming's strength. The mysterious spirit kingdom dared to treat Lu Ming with such an attitude. They were simply courting death. They seemed to have seen the tragic state of the mysterious spirit kingdom. "Kill!" The white-haired old woman made the first move. A terrifying attack blasted toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other absolute saints also attacked. More than a dozen attacks were aimed at Lu Ming. They wanted to crush Lu Ming's bones with one attack. "You brought this upon yourself. You can't live," Lu Ming said indifferently. Then he threw a punch. The air trembled, forming a terrifying force that destroyed the attacks of more than 10 absolute saints. How is that possible? All the experts of Xianling Kingdom were shocked. He destroyed the attacks of more than 10 absolute saints with one move. What kind of strength was this? Not good. They were shocked and felt a chill all over their bodies. They had a bad feeling. Some of them even retreated, but it was too late. Boom, boom. Lu Ming swung his fists continuously, and streams of fist force rushed out with an unstoppable momentum, crushing those people. Bang, bang, bang. The absolute saints didn't even have time to scream before they were blown into the air. In an instant, only the white-haired old woman was left. At this moment, the white-haired old woman was terrified and began to escape. Stop! At this moment, a loud shout came from the sky in the distance. It was filled with shock and anger. However, Lu Ming did not seem to hear it. He threw another punch. The white-haired old woman was directly blown up, her body and soul destroyed. The surroundings fell into a deathly silence. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. More than 10 absolute saints had been killed in an instant. It was too terrifying. Lu Ming, what are your limits? Yuan Tianjiao seemed to be numb, only a bitter smile and endless curiosity. How audacious! An angry roar came from the sky. Then, more than 10 figures appeared. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1950, Chapter 1950, Conflict Intensified. Chapter 1950, Chapter 1950 Conflict intensified. More than a dozen figures appeared. The one in the lead was a young man in golden robes. Big brother! The tall young man from Xianling Kingdom was overjoyed to see this young man. His big brother had finally arrived. His big brother had come to the God-Time Island 6 years ago. With his shocking talent, he was accepted as a disciple by a saint emperor of the God-Time Island. Right now, his status on the God-Time Island was extraordinary. His big brother's arrival finally put him at ease. Not good. Seeing this youth, Yuan Tianjiao's expression changed drastically. Lu Ming, this person is wearing a golden robe with a river of time embroidered on the cuffs. This is the symbol of a core disciple of the Divine Time Island. Yuan Tianjiao quickly sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. The core disciple of the Divine Time Island was the highest level of cultivation in the Divine Time Island. There were only a few of them in the entire Divine Time Island, and their status was astonishing. This young man was obviously from the mysterious spirit kingdom. This time, they were in trouble. Xian Chuan was the young man's name. At this moment, Xian Chuan was extremely angry and filled with endless killing intent. Today, he had just come out of seclusion and wanted to see the people from the mysterious spirit kingdom. His brother had come as well, but he did not expect to see Lu Ming killing the experts from the mysterious spirit kingdom the moment he arrived. Even the mysterious spirit kingdom couldn't afford to lose more than 10 absolute saints. This was definitely more than half of the experts in the mysterious spirit kingdom. Boy, I'll let you die without a burial place. And all of you from the vast C9 nations will die. Xian Chuan glared at Lu Ming coldly, wishing he could cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. It's your people from the mysterious spirit kingdom who occupied the palace we live in. It's also your country who attacked us first. How can we not retaliate? Yuan Tianjiao called out. Shut up. Xian Chuan shouted coldly, his eyes cold. So what? Even if one occupy your palace, even if I want to kill you first, so what? You shouldn't have retaliated. If you retaliated, you would have died. Xian Chuan was overbearing. They didn't care about the cause and process. He only cared about the result. In the end, the powerhouses of the mysterious spirit kingdom were killed. Lu Ming and the rest had to die. Big brother, you must take revenge for the elders. The tall young man shouted. Don't worry. Xian Chuan spoke coldly, the vast C9 nations are lawless. They openly killed experts of other countries on the temporal divine island. They are all sentenced to death. Kill without mercy. Yes. A few people walked out from behind Xian Chuan, releasing a terrifying aura. These people were all absolute saints in the Great Circle. These people were all experts from the Divine Time Island. Their faces were cold, and they didn't care about who was right or wrong. If Xian Chuan said to kill, they would kill. Xian Chuan's status on the Divine Time Island was transcendent and he was loved by many divine emperors. His words were law and reason. The faces of the vast C9 nations, including Yuan Tianjiao, were extremely ugly. The Divine Time Island was different from the other great nations. They were the #1 power in the 10,000 sea realm and had unfathomable strength. They had many sacred emperors. If they offended the Divine Time Island, the vast C9 nations would be eliminated. Lu Ming's eyebrows furrowed slightly. He himself was not afraid, but he was worried that he would implicate the 9 nations of the vast sea. Kneel down and accept your punishment. An absolute saint in the great circle said coldly. He slammed his palm down, and a huge palm formed and pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch and the huge palm was crushed. Xian Chuan's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming was so powerful. He could even block an absolute saint in the great circle. Could this person also be from beyond the heavens? Xian Chuan's heart moved. With his status, he naturally knew many things that others didn't. During this period of time, many experts from the 10,000 realm had suddenly descended. All of them had profound cultivation and powerful battle prowess. Many of them were actually not weaker than the sacred emperors of the Divine Time Island. He had heard from some elders that these people might have come from beyond the heavens. In the beginning, he was extremely shocked. If Lu Ming was also from beyond the heavens, things would not be easy. Xian Chuan frowned. The people of my mysterious spirit kingdom can't die in vain. Suddenly, Xian Chuan clenched his fists tightly. So what if he came from beyond the heavens? How could his Divine Time Island be afraid? Let's attack together. With a wave of his hand, the few absolute saints in the great circle charged toward Lu Ming again. They were all using killing moves. You're the ones who are looking for death. Lu Ming said coldly. Just now, he had already taken a step back and did not fight back. However, the other party was obviously insatiable. He understood that there was no use in backing down against such a person. Only by using iron and blood to suppress him would the other party be afraid. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and flew up. He threw a punch and the shadow of the prison-suppressing steel appeared, suppressing an absolute saint in the perfection. That expert's attack was instantly destroyed by the prison-suppressing steel's illusionary image. Under the suppression of the prison-suppressing steel, the man screamed in pain and his body was torn into pieces. Then, Lu Ming punched again and killed a person in the absolute saint's perfection. How is that possible? Xian Chuan roared. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He could even kill an absolute saint in the great circle. The tall young man and the rest of the people from Xianling Kingdom were also pale. In their eyes, Lu Ming was simply a god of death. Send the signal, send the signal. Gather the experts of the Divine Island. Xian Chuan retreated crazily and shouted at the same time. Kill! Lu Ming stepped into the void and charged toward Xian Chuan. Since he had made his move, he would destroy them all. Lu Ming, it's you. Kill. Right at this moment, an explosive roar rang out. Following that, a terrifying sword light came slashing over from the distance. It was extremely terrifying, as though it was going to split the entire Divine Time Island in half. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. An absolute holy weapon sword appeared in his hand and he swung it. Boom! A violent explosion, along with endless sword chi, spread out. Whoosh! In the distance, there was a flash of light and a middle-aged man appeared in the sky. Spots of light lit up on his body. Hundreds of holy weapons floated around him, and a river of laws surrounded him. The WN family. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed that many experts who had entered the 10,000 realm had come to the Divine Time Island, just like him, to explore the Divine Time Mountain. The river of laws, that's Saint Emperor. Heavens, the sage emperor has appeared. Could it be the divine emperor of the Divine Time Island? Cries of alarm rang out. An emperor-to-be was known as a sacred emperor in the 10,000 realm. They were the strongest experts in the realm. Because there were no martial emperors in the 10,000 realm, and immortality was only a legend. Ruan Tianjiao and the others were also extremely shocked. The sacred emperor had made his move. Could Lu Ming win? At this moment, a heaven-shaking roar was heard. In the distance, a giant wolf as large as a mountain stepped through the air. This giant wolf was also surrounded by a river of laws. Then, on the other side, a purple light flashed and a purple-robed elder appeared. His body was covered in purple light, and there was also a river of laws around him. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1951, 9 Emperor, to be. Chapter 1951, 9 Emperor to be Skywolf Tower, the Purple Extreme Sex Emperor to be, they're all here. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and muttered. The 3 Emperor to be stood in 3 directions, surrounding Lu Ming. The people from the small countries in the 10,000 Sea realm were all shocked. The 3 divine emperors had appeared, and from the looks of it, they were all hostile towards Lu Ming. These divine emperors don't seem like the temporal island. That's right. I've never heard of a giant wolf becoming a sage emperor on the divine time island. Many people were discussing in low voices. The people from the vast C9 nations turned pale. There were so many sacred emperors against Lu Ming. As for Xian Chuan, he was overjoyed and shouted, "Quickly send the signal and gather the experts of the divine island." Beside Xian Chuan, an expert waved his hand and a light pillar shot up into the sky, forming a river of time. Everyone on the entire divine time island could see it. Xian Chuan's words shocked everyone. From Xian Chuan's words, these divine emperors weren't from the Time God Island. However, other than the temporal island, there were no other factions in the 10,000 Sea realm that had saint emperors. And 3 of them had appeared all at once. At this moment, a few sharp bird calls were heard. A huge 3-legged golden crow appeared in the sky. In addition, there was a huge silver wolf, all of which were emperor to be. Many experts from the major forces had entered the world of the lotus flower. Naturally, there were more than 1 or 2 emperor to be experts. That's the 3-legged golden crow, the legendary divine beast. Someone exclaimed. In the 10,000 Seas realm, the 3-legged golden crow was a legendary divine beast. It had never appeared before. Today, he had actually seen one. This is Lu Ming? A cold voice came from a gust of wind. Lu Ming, you've been hiding for so long. You'll die today. Hand over the celestial emperor's sword. Another voice was heard from the other side. The Heng family. Lu Ming muttered, his eyes filled with intense killing intent. It seemed that almost all the enemies were here today. At this time, regardless of whether it was the people from the vast C9 nations, the mysterious spirit kingdom, or the other countries, they were all stunned. They all gasped in shock. 9 divine emperors. A total of 9 divine emperors surrounded Lu Ming. They were all hostile to him. Lu Ming. Quan Tianjiu's eyes were filled with deep worry. At this moment, several figures flew over from the divine time island. All of them had powerful auras. The experts of the divine time island had arrived. Xian Chuan, what happened? An old man asked. He looked at the quasi-sages of the Golden Crow race with a serious expression. It's this brat. He's the one who killed the people of our divine time island. He's absolutely lawless. Xian Chuan pointed at Lu Ming and said coldly, "You dare to kill the people of our divine time island? What guts?" The old man shouted coldly. He and the other 2 powerhouses stepped toward Lu Ming. The river of laws also appeared on their bodies. The Sage Emperor, another Sage Emperor. A total of 12 sacred emperors surrounded Lu Ming. This brat actually has so many enemies. He's dead for sure. Xian Chuan laughed in his heart. As for the people from the smaller countries, their minds were in a complete mess. Everything that happened today was beyond their imagination. Other than the divine time island, where did so many sage emperors come from? Lu Ming, hand over the celestial emperor's sword. The Heng family's saint emperor shouted coldly. If you want it, come and get it yourself. Lu Ming said coldly. The saint energy in his body circulated crazily, pushing his strength to the limit. It seemed that he had to fight a big battle today. Young Master Xinglai once said that he would kill you with his own hands. But today I will do it. The emperor-to-be from the Heng family spoke coldly and was the first to make a move. A pale sword radiance bloomed and slashed toward Lu Ming. On Lu Ming's body, hundreds of acupuncture points lit up. Hundreds of holy weapons flew out, and the chi of combat weapons soared into the sky. The holy sword of supremacy flew toward the sword light of the Heng family's emperor-to-be with a single thought from Lu Ming. Clang. The sword trembled and was sent flying back, but it still managed to block the opponent's sword. Lu Ming is cunning and sinister. There's no need to play by the rules with him. Let's attack together. The emperor-to-be of the Wan family shouted and made his move. Endless chi of war weapons gathered and slashed out a vast sword light, aiming at Lu Ming's throat. This time, in the world of the lotus flower, it was a rare opportunity to lull Lu Ming. If he left the world of the lotus flower, it would be difficult to lull Lu Ming. Moreover, if they were to send out even more powerful experts, it was likely that the Great Yen Elixir Palace's Uncle Kong would make a move. He had been killed while searching for treasures in the Lotus world, so Uncle Kong had nothing to say. If you want to join forces, just say it. There's no need to be so grand. Lu Ming sneered and threw a punch. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and flew toward the emperor-to-be of the Wan family. Thump! The prison-suppressing steel trembled, and with the power to suppress the heavens, it struck the battle weapon of the quasi-emperor of the Wan clan, forcing him to retreat a few steps. Kill! A roar was heard. The two emperor-to-be giant wolves from the Skywolf Tower also made their move. They howled madly and suppressed the sky. They launched a terrifying killing force at Lu Ming. Following that, the emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race, the emperor-to-be of the Purple Extreme sect, and the emperor-to-be of the Wind race made their moves at the same time. The 9 emperors-to-be attacked at the same time. Their auras were so powerful that it seemed like they could blow up the world. The endless pressure forced the spectators to retreat. The people from the vast C9 nations and the mysterious spirit kingdom retreated frantically. The pressure was too strong, and they were too close to it. They were afraid that they would be crushed. Is this the strength of a Saint Emperor? The moment he makes a move, he has earth-shattering power. It's too terrifying. Many people had the same thought. Then, they looked at the figure who was besieged by many emperors-to-be. Could he still block so many attacks? Good. Lu Ming let out a long howl. The space between his eyebrows glowed and the Dian elixir furnace appeared. It grew rapidly and blasted behind him. And NBSP at the same time, he used the primal chaos tribulation finger and thrust 5 fingers forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 5 huge fingers, like the fingers of a god, broke through the air and attacked the 5 emperor-to-be experts. Boom! Boom! With continuous rumbles, the 5 chaos fingers of tribulation exploded, but they also blocked the other party's attack. Behind him, the Dian elixir furnace had also blocked the attacks of the other 4. It trembled and flew back to Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming's body trembled and his face turned pale. He was powerful and could defeat or even kill any of the 9 emperors-to-be. However, if all 9 of them attacked him at the same time, he would not be able to do so. After all, there were 9 of them, and he was no match for them. His body trembled and his chi and blood churned. However, this scene in the eyes of others was nothing but shock. How is that possible? The people of Xianling Kingdom and Xianchuan widened their eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming was actually able to block the attacks of 9 Saint Emperors by himself. What kind of monster was he? Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1952, Chapter 1952, Bubble arrives and kills Emperor, to be consecutively. Chapter 1952, Bubble arrives and kills Emperor to be consecutively Lu Ming. Yuan Tianjiao and the rest of the people from Ming Yen country could not help but clench their fists. They did not know why, but they suddenly felt proud of Lu Ming. Even they did not know why. It might be related to Lu Ming representing the Ming Yen country this time. In their past memories, the divine emperor was a lofty figure who looked down on the world. He was a top expert in the 10,000 sea realm. But now, Lu Ming could fight against 9 people at once. It was too shocking. Is this the son of chaos? His combat strength is truly heaven-defying. Not only were there people from the 10,000 sea realm, but there were also people from the outside world. There were many of them who were attracted by the commotion and came to watch. Someone sighed. Not only the spectators, but even the emperor-to-be from the Heng family and the others were shocked. Lu Ming could actually block them. Kill! The emperor-to-be from the Heng family shouted and was the first to make a move again. He cast a magical technique and charged at Lu Ming. Then the other emperors-to-be also attacked. Then he'll kill you first. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stared at the quasi-emperor of the Wan family and charged at him. At the same time, Lu Ming waved his hand and 9 huge prison-suppressing steels appeared. They pressed down on the others while Lu Ming continued to charge at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger. Lu Ming attacked with all his might and launched a Chaos Finger of Tribulation. The Primal Chaos Finger of Tribulation destroyed the attack of the Heng family's emperor-to-be and forced him to retreat rapidly with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. The other 8 people's attacks collided with the prison-suppressing steel's shadow that Lu Ming had condensed. There was a constant rumble and the 9 prison-suppressing steel's shadow was destroyed. The remaining power surged towards Lu Ming, causing his body to tremble and blood to flow from his mouth. However, Lu Ming made use of this force to charge at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family even faster. Come in. Lu Ming opened the lid of the Dian elixir furnace. A terrifying suction force erupted from the furnace and was about to suck the emperor-to-be of the Heng family in. The emperor-to-be from the Heng clan was shocked. He struggled madly and shouted, "Quickly come and help me. Don't even think about it. Kill." The other 8 powerhouses attacked at the same time. The Sun, Gale, Giant Wolf, and the others all charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with madness. Block it. With a thought, hundreds of saint weapons gathered into a giant shield and blocked behind him. Then he pointed at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Boom. The attacks of the 8 emperors-to-be landed on the shield made up of hundreds of saint weapons. The shield exploded, and some of the bright saint weapons and great saint weapons were shattered into pieces. Only a dozen or so absolute saint weapons didn't explode. A total of 200 saint weapons had been destroyed just like that. This was a huge loss. However, it was all worth it. This had also bought Lu Ming some time. Under the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger, the emperor-to-be of the Heng family was almost blown apart. He spat out a mouthful of blood. How could he resist the pull of the Dian elixir furnace? He struggled madly, but he was still swallowed by the Dian elixir furnace. Clang. After closing the furnace lid, Lu Ming started to activate the furnace fire to refine the other party. Thump, thump. Inside the furnace, the other party was frantically attacking, wanting to rush out. However, given Lu Ming's current cultivation level, how could he, an ordinary emperor-to-be, rush out of the cauldron? Attack and save the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. The emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race let out a long howl and charged toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other emperor-to-be also launched an attack on Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the Dian elixir furnace to block it. Although he was at a disadvantage, the other party could not seriously injure him in a short period of time. Saint Emperor, this person is lawless. If you attack now, you can kill him. Xian Chuan sent a message to the 3 sacred emperors of the Divine Time Island. The 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island looked at each other and saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. Lu Ming had to pay the price for killing several experts on the Divine Time Island. Otherwise, where would the dignity of the Divine Time Island be? The 3 of them nodded and stepped forward at the same time, their bodies exuding a mysterious aura. Everyone was shocked. The sacred emperor of the Divine Time Island was about to make his move as well. Lu Ming. Yuan Tianjiao was extremely worried. Previously, Lu Ming was clearly at a disadvantage. If the 3 quasi-emperors of the Divine Time Island were added to the mix, Lu Ming would be even more disadvantaged. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island did not hesitate and attacked at the same time. 3 terrifying divine lights shot toward Lu Ming, and there was actually a trace of time power in them. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and he was ready to resist with all his might. However, at this moment, the space around them started to ripple. A huge transparent bubble appeared and enveloped the 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island. Bubbles. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Bubbles had entered the myriad sea realm with him. To his surprise, he had also arrived at the Divine Time Island. Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming and he muttered, "So many of you are fighting brother Lu Ming. "They'll fight you too, Chirpy." Bubbles continued to form as she mumbled to herself. With a wave of her hand, more transparent bubbles were formed and enveloped the quasi-emperors of the Golden Crow race and the Wan clan. Kill! Lu Ming took the opportunity to attack the emperor-to-be of the Wan family. He had just lost so many saint weapons, so he might as well get them back from this quasi-emperor of the Wan clan. And NBSP, the enemy, was covered by the space-time law and was struggling madly, trying to break it. However, with Bubbles' current realm and space-time law, how could it be so easy to break? Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it at the other party's face. Thump! The Dian elixir furnace smashed onto the quasi-emperor of the Wan family's head. The quasi-emperor's head was almost split open. He was completely dazed. Slash! Lu Ming grabbed an absolute holy weapon saber beside him and slashed down. The emperor-to-be of the Wan clan was split into two. An emperor-to-be had fallen. Heavens! The spectators from the 10,000 realm were all shocked. This was a figure equivalent to a sage emperor, yet he had been killed just like that. The sacred emperor was at the peak of the 10,000 realm. It was synonymous with invincibility. It turned out that even an invincible sacred emperor could die. Many people sighed. In addition to the one inside the Dian elixir furnace that was already silent, there were already two. Two of the saint emperors had been killed by Lu Ming. Who was this young man? Thoughts ran through the minds of the 10,000 realm warriors. At this time, the others had already broken through the space-time law and gathered together, their eyes extremely solemn. Space-time law, it's the space-time law. The sacred emperor of the divine time island cried out in excitement. Their nomological laws also contained a trace of time power. However, compared to Bubbles, they were still far from it. If you want to kill me, then kill to your heart's content today. Lu Ming's killing intent grew stronger. He stepped on the air and headed for the remaining emperor-to-be. Since they wanted to kill him, he would slaughter them all. The remaining emperors-to-be looked solemn. Lu Ming's combat strength was already terrifying enough. In addition to Bubbles, who had mastered the space-time law, their combat strength was amazing. Chapter 1953, Chapter 1953, The Divine Tree of Time. Chapter 1953, The Divine Tree of Time. If it was a head-on clash, they wouldn't be afraid. The key was that the space-time laws were too profound and too useful in trapping enemies. The space-time law trapped the enemy while Lu Ming was the main attacker. When they worked together, their destructive power was shocking. At this moment, a few more people stepped into the air from the distance, their bodies surrounded by the river of laws. Another emperor-to-be from the temporal divine island had arrived. He had gathered with the previous three emperors-to-be, and a powerful aura was pressing down on Lu Ming. A great battle was about to start. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This figure was enveloped by a mysterious power. The area was completely distorted, as if time and space were changing. He could only vaguely see that it was a black-robed old man. When the emperor-to-be experts of the divine time island saw this old man, they bowed and greeted, "We pay our respects to the Sage Master. We pay our respects to the Sage Master." The expressions of the other cultivators from the divine time island also changed as they bowed. The Sage Master? Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. It seemed that this Sage Master had a very high status. Even the quasi-emperors on the divine time island were very respectful to him. The Sage Master nodded slightly and looked at Lu Ming with a kind smile. He then looked at the other emperors-to-be and said, "Everyone here is a powerful existence. If we fight here, the divine time island will be greatly damaged. Can you give this old man some face and temporarily stop the battle?" Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not say anything. The eyes of the emperors-to-be of the other forces flickered, but they didn't speak. Now that Lu Ming and Dandan's combat strength had skyrocketed, they were not confident even though they had the advantage in numbers. If the people from the divine time island were to withdraw, they would be even more uncertain. Reporting to the sacred master, "This man has killed several elders of my divine time island. You cannot let him off." Xian Chuan was still unwilling to give up. He reported to the Sage Master that he wanted to borrow the power of the Divine Time Island to kill Lu Ming. Are you teaching me how to do things? The Sage Master looked at Xian Chuan and his voice turned cold. Xian Chuan's face changed drastically. He knelt down immediately and shouted with a pale face, I don't dare, this disciple doesn't dare, please forgive me, Sage Master. The Sage Master ignored Xian Chuan and continued to look at Lu Ming and the rest. You're from beyond the heavens and have come to the 10,000 Sea realm. You must be here for the Immortal Relic and the Time God Mountain. If you stop fighting, it'll take you there. The Sage Master's words stunned the people of 10,000 Sea realm. Beyond the heavens. These experts actually came from beyond the heavens. Many people in the 10,000 Sea realm knew that it was connected to the other 8 realms. They could communicate, but only Saint Emperors could. And beyond the 9 worlds, there were even larger worlds. Legend had it that the world beyond the heavens was vast and boundless. Martial arts had developed to the extreme, and there were even immortal existences. However, all of this was just a legend. No one had ever confirmed it. Now, the Sage Master actually said that these people came from beyond the heavens. Perhaps it was true. Otherwise, why would so many experts suddenly appear on the Divine Time Island? Beyond the heavens, beyond the heavens. So Lu Ming came from beyond the heavens. That's right, only beyond the heavens can give birth to a prodigy like Lu Ming. While Yuan Tianjiao was shocked, all sorts of thoughts ran through his mind. The people of the vast C9 nations and the Xianling kingdom were also dumbfounded. Lu Ming, for the sake of the Sage Master, I'll spare your life today. One of the giant wolves from the Sky Wolf Tower said, Spare my life? Hee, come on, let's continue the battle and see if you can take my life. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent as he glared at the giant wolf from the Sky Wolf Tower. This made the giant wolf of the Sky Wolf Tower look unsightly. He was only trying to win with his words. If they really had to fight, they had no confidence. The Sage Master smiled bitterly, Little brother, why don't we let it go for now? After you go to the Time God Mountain and leave the Time God Island, one won't interfere no matter how you guys want to fight. That's to give face to the Sage Master and spare their dog lives first. Lu Ming smiled faintly. If they were to truly fight, he might not be afraid. However, with the addition of the people from the Divine Time Island, he might not be able to gain an advantage. More importantly, the Sage Master gave him a profound feeling. The Sky Wolf Tower's giant wolves and the others had ugly expressions, but they didn't refute. Okay, thank you for giving me face, little brother. The people of 10,000 Sea realm can stay here for the time being. No one is allowed to attack. Anyone who violates this rule will be killed without mercy. The Sage Master said, his voice turning cold. The people from Xianling Kingdom had ugly expressions, but they didn't dare to refute the Sage Master's words. So many of their people had died in vain, and they could only admit that they were unlucky. Friends from beyond the heavens, if you want to explore the Time God Mountain, then come with me. The Sage Master's voice reverberated in all directions as he flew into the depths of the Divine Time Island. Lu Ming smiled and followed the Sage Master. The giant wolf from the Sirius Tower, the Quasi-Emperor of the Golden Crow race, and the Quasi-Emperor of the Wind race followed behind him with gloomy faces. In the sky, one figure after another streaked across the void. All of them were experts from the outside world. They followed the sacred teacher and headed towards the Divine Time Island. So many people? The people of the 10,000 Sea realm were shocked. So many people had come from beyond the sky, and they were all terrifying experts. Not long after, they arrived at the center of the Divine Time Island. Up ahead, there was a huge mountain that pierced through the clouds. This mountain looked deathly silent. At a glance, it was all bare rocks. That's everyone's eyes focused. They saw bones in different parts of the mountain, almost completely decayed. How could there be so many bones in this mountain? Everyone stopped in their tracks, somewhat bewildered. Everyone, this is the Time God Mountain. The entire mountain is deathly silent with only a few plants. The Sage Master introduced. Everyone observed carefully. Indeed, there were some plants on the mountain, but they were very sparse. These plants have the power of time. If a martial artist consumes them, they can increase their lifespan. The sage master continued. What? It can increase one's lifespan? Someone cried out in surprise, his eyes emitting a blazing flame. A martial emperor's lifespan was endless. Other than facing the great calamity of heaven and earth, they did not need to worry about their lifespan. However, those below the martial supreme realm had limited lifespans. A saint could live for more than 100,000 years, but not more than 200,000 years. The emperor-to-be was also in this range. This time, there were many ancient emperors-to-be who had come. Many of them were already at the end of their lifespans. The plants that could increase their lifespans were a fatal temptation to them. Also, there's a small tree at the peak of the Divine Time Mountain. That's the Divine Time Tree. If a martial artist swallows it, his lifespan will be doubled. The sage master continued. Double the lifespan. This time, most of the people revealed a fiery light of greed. Increasing one's lifespan by 1-fold, what kind of concept was that? Some of the emperors-to-be were close to the end of their lifespans. However, if their lifespans were doubled, they might be able to enter the martial emperor realm and attain immortality. The fatal temptation of this matter was irresistible. Chapter 1954. Chapter 1954, Time Power. Chapter 1954. Chapter 1954 Time Power, that's mine. It's mine. Immediately, some people rushed towards the divine light sacred mountain. However, the few people at the front suddenly let out blood-curdling screeches. A shocking scene appeared. The few people at the front stopped in the air and let out terrified screams. Their old and shriveled bodies became even shriveled, and their essence chi seemed to have been swallowed in an instant. Then, all their hair fell off and their clothes rotted. Their bodies seemed to have turned into skeletons, and there was no longer any aura on them. The expressions of the people behind changed drastically as they retreated frantically. But after they left, they all seemed to have aged a lot. It had only been a few breaths, but all of them seemed to have aged 10,000 years. Looking ahead, the few people who were flying at the front had already turned into bones. What's going on? What was going on? My lifespan is almost exhausted. An old man whose hair was about to fall off shouted. I'm not done yet. You guys are too impatient. The Time God Mountain is filled with the power of time. Any living being that goes up there will be deprived of time. Time is flowing faster in the Time God Mountain. The Sage Master said indifferently. Time is flowing faster. Damn it. The people who were charging forward roared. They had suffered a great loss this time. As for those who were slower and didn't move forward, they were secretly glad that they were a step slower. Otherwise, the consequences would have been serious. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and some other young men did not step forward earlier. They were still young, and things like lifespan were not attractive to them. Chirp, chirp. On Lu Ming's shoulder, the bubble was chirping. Its eyes were fixed on the small tree on the Divine Time Mountain. Bubbles, is that little tree of great use to you? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Yes, Chirpy. Bubbles nodded repeatedly. Lu Ming understood. Bubbles was a space-time mouse and the small tree had the power of time. It was not surprising that it would be of great use to Bubbles. But how could he get it? Lu Ming pondered secretly. Can't we go up the Time God Mountain? Someone asked in a deep voice. If he couldn't go up, then what was the point of coming here? It was better to explore other ruins as soon as possible. It's not like we can't go up at all. Follow me. The Sage Master then flew toward the side of the Time God Mountain. Not long after, the Sage Master stopped and pointed at the Time God Mountain. There's a canyon here. Every 3 months, the power of time in this canyon will drop to its lowest. At that time, we can pass through this canyon. At the end of this canyon, there's an altar. As long as that altar is destroyed, the power of time in the entire Time Mountain will be greatly reduced. At that time, we'll have a chance to step onto the peak and obtain that time tree. Then why aren't the people of your Divine Time Island going up? Someone raised a question and looked at the Sage Master with doubt. It was the same for the others. Some people's eyes were cold. If the Sage Master's words were false or if he was plotting something, they would be in danger. Many emperors-to-be and absolute saints had lived for a long time and were very scheming. They naturally wouldn't trust the sage master easily. Because we're not strong enough. The sage master replied. Many people's eyes flashed. They were unable to refute the sage master's words. The cultivation level of the 10,000 realm could not be compared to that of the Yuan continent. On the Divine Time Island, the strongest experts were all quasi-emperors. Furthermore, there weren't many of them, so it was normal for them to be unable to do so. How long more until the power of time in this canyon weakens? Someone asked. There's still half a month. The sage master said. Alright, I'll wait here then. Someone was sitting cross-legged. A portion of the people did the same. They sat cross-legged and waited quietly. There was also a group of people looking around the Divine Light's sacred mountain. Lu Ming and Bubbles also wandered around. Bang! Suddenly, someone stepped forward toward the Time God Mountain, instantly attracting the attention of many people. It seemed like someone couldn't hold back and wanted to try it out for themselves. However, that person was very cautious. Step by step, he walked very slowly. When he stepped into a certain range, his expression changed, as if he was enveloped by a terrifying force. This man was an emperor-to-be, surrounded by the river of laws. He was covered in saint power to resist the power of time. Then, step by step, he walked towards the nearest plant. Many people's eyes lit up. The power of time of the Divine Time Mountain would become stronger the closer one was to the peak. It was not completely impossible to resist the power of time on the outside. As long as he could block it, he would be able to obtain some plants. The plants here could increase one's lifespan and were priceless. Immediately, many people stepped out and slowly walked toward the Time God Mountain. All. But not long after, someone shouted that he couldn't hold on any longer. The person's skin was slowly drying up, causing the person's expression to change, and he quickly retreated. And the first person who had tried couldn't even walk to the closest plant. He also couldn't resist the erosion of the power of time and was defeated. The same thing happened to the others. Even with their sovereign weapons, they were unable to resist and were defeated one after another. No one managed to obtain any plants. Brother Lu Ming, I want to try. Perhaps I can use the power of time to cultivate. Chirp chirp. At that moment, Bubbles spoke. Alright, let's go together. Lu Ming nodded. He also wanted to test how strong the power of time in the Time Mountain was. Bang, bang. Lu Ming took a step forward and headed toward the Divine Time Mountain. Many people's gazes turned to Lu Ming. They also wanted to see how far the Son of Chaos could go. Lu Ming walked forward step by step. When he stepped into a certain area, a mysterious force acted on his body. That was the power of time, which was extremely similar to the power of Bubbles. The power of time was extremely terrifying. It seemed to seep into Lu Ming's body and deprive him of his time and longevity. Boom! Lu Ming's aura burst out and holy powers surrounded his body. The laws of chaos filled the air and blocked the power of time from the outside world. The corresponding law to the power of time was the law of time. It was an extremely powerful king path law that could not be compared to Bubbles' space-time law, and naturally, it could not be compared to the chaos law. And NBSP thus, the moment the chaos laws appeared, the time energy from the outside world was blocked. Lu Ming continued to walk forward, step by step, toward a plant. He didn't walk very quickly, but each step was firm. The deeper they went, the stronger the power of time. But Lu Ming still managed to block it. Bubbles sat on Lu Ming's shoulder and seemed to be seriously sensing the power of time in the outside world. Very soon, Lu Ming was close to the first plant. As expected of the Son of Chaos. He can control the laws of chaos and even block time. Someone exclaimed. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1955. Chapter 1955, Entering the Mountain. Chapter 1955. Chapter 1955 Entering the Mountain. Someone exclaimed in surprise. The distance that Lu Ming had covered was further than the person who had walked the furthest previously. The giant wolf from the Heavenly Wolf Tower and the quasi-emperor from the Golden Crow race snorted coldly. They were a little unhappy. Soon, Lu Ming came to the nearest plant. It was a purple grass with a purple flower on it, and it was emitting a strange power. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Then, he pulled up the purple flower by its roots and kept it in the mountain and river diagram. Many old men with snow-white hair were staring at Lu Ming with burning eyes. Treasures that could increase one's lifespan were extremely rare, and every time they appeared, their prices would skyrocket. Lu Ming continued to move forward, walking towards another plant. Not long after, Lu Ming had picked 6 plants. Lu Ming had almost plucked all the plants in the periphery. He could only pick more plants if he went deeper. Lu Ming continued to walk. However, the deeper he went, the stronger the power of time became. The laws of chaos that surrounded his body were also shaking violently. Although the law of chaos was of a higher level, Lu Ming's cultivation level was still low. Although it was higher in quality, it was lacking in quantity. When the power of time exceeded a certain range, the laws of chaos still couldn't resist it. At this moment, a transparent bubble enveloped Lu Ming. At once, Lu Ming felt that the power of time in the outside world had lightened. Bubbles had made her move. Her space-time laws included time and space, and no other law could resist the power of time. The pressure on Lu Ming was lifted. He quickened his pace and continued to move forward. Not long after, he was almost halfway up the mountain. Space-time law, good. When the Sage Master saw this, his eyes shone with a dazzling light and a deep desire. Of course, no one saw the Sage Master's eyes. A few hours later, Lu Ming had picked more than 10 plants. But halfway up the mountain, he could no longer continue. Even with the help of Bubble's space-time laws, he was unable to advance any further. And NBSP, the time energy up ahead, was simply too terrifying. If they continued forward, they definitely wouldn't be able to stop it. They had no choice but to stop. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and used the power of time to hone his chaos laws. As for Bubbles, she was also carefully sensing the time power of the outside world. Lu Ming, why aren't you coming out? Someone spoke up and stared at Lu Ming, hoping that he would come out and buy some plants that could increase one's lifespan. He seems to be cultivating. Let's wait a little longer, he'll come out sooner or later. Many people had gathered at Lu Ming's side, waiting for him to come out and trade with him. More than 10 days had passed. Lu Ming and Bubbles finally could not hold on any longer. They got up and left the Time Mountain. As soon as he stepped out, Lu Ming was surrounded by a group of old men. Lu Ming, how much are the plants in the Time God Mountain? Sell me a few. We can discuss the price. I also want a few, name your price. The group of old men spoke one after another, their eyes burning with passion. I'm not selling. Lu Ming waved his hands. Treasures that could increase one's lifespan were few and far between. He wanted to keep them for when he returned to the divine wilderness continent in the future. Many people would have a use for them. His parents and some others were not talented enough and could not cultivate to the martial emperor realm. One day, their lifespans would run out and these plants would come in handy. You're not selling? Immediately, some of the old men became anxious and said, Lu Ming, you're young and talented. It's a given that you'll break through to the martial supreme realm in the future. There's no point in keeping these plants that can increase your lifespan. That's right, I want two. How about you sell me two? I just want one. These old men looked at Lu Ming with burning eyes. I also need to use it, so seniors, I'm sorry, please make way. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, Lu Ming, you have no use for it, yet you don't sell it to these seniors. You're evil. That's right. There are so many plants here. You're going too far if you want to keep all of them for yourself. There are some seniors here whose lifespans are approaching their end, and you're just going to watch them die? Not far away, the giant wolf from the Sirius Tower, the quasi-emperors of the Wind Race, and the Golden Crow race sneered. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. These people were clearly trying to sow discord. As expected, some of the old men's eyes flickered with cold light. Lu Ming, give some up. It's too much to take it all for yourself. We have so many people here. If we use force, I'm afraid you won't be able to protect those plants. The giant wolf from the Sirius Tower and the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race sneered at this scene. If you don't sell, you'll have to make a move? Lu Ming's voice turned cold. The atmosphere at the scene became tense. Everyone, time's almost up. If you want to fight, then wait until we leave the Divine Time Island. The Sage Master said as he stepped forward and came to Lu Ming's side. At the same time, the experts of the Divine Time Island came to Lu Ming's side, seemingly wanting to protect him. This surprised Lu Ming. The Sage Master did not seem to want anything to happen to him. The old men's faces turned ugly. Lu Ming and Bubbles had joined forces and it was already extremely difficult to deal with them. Now that the people from the Divine Time Island had joined in, they were not confident even if they took action. Brother Lu Ming, I hope that you can sell me some plants after we leave this place. In the end, some old men chose not to attack and retreated from the encirclement. After that, other people also withdrew. In the end, the remaining few people knew that they couldn't do anything and could only helplessly walk to the side. This made the giant wolf from the Skywolf Tower and the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race look a little pale. He was looking forward to a conflict between Lu Ming and those old men. Lu Ming cast a cold glance at the giant wolf from the Skywolf Tower, the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race, and the others. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, several days had passed. Time's up. We can set off now. The Sage Master's eyes brightened as he spoke. However, for the time being, no one stepped forward, all hoping that someone else would take the lead. The Sage Master naturally knew that everyone was worried. With a wave of his hand, some of the emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island flew up and charged into the canyon. Those people were extremely fast. They rushed into the canyon and were indeed fine. Only then did everyone relax and rush into the canyon. Lu Ming followed the crowd and rushed into the canyon. The power of time has indeed been reduced by many times. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The group was very fast, and they quickly passed through half of the canyon. However, after passing through half of it, their speed finally slowed down. Because from here on, the power of time would gradually become stronger. The group continued to move forward. After a while, some of the weaker cultivators finally couldn't hold on any longer and retreated out of the canyon. However, the power of time here was nothing to Lu Ming and Bubbles. They traveled quickly and slowly approached the end of the canyon. At the end of the canyon, there was an ancient altar. No one knew how many years it had been there for. It was ancient and weathered, and it emitted a strong time power. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1956, The Great Battle in the Mountains. Chapter 1956, The Great Battle in the Mountains. It's this altar. There are 3 altars in the entire Time Mountain. As long as one of them is broken, the power of time in the mountain will be greatly reduced. If all 3 altars are broken, the mountain will be free to move. The Sage Master said, his eyes revealing a trace of fiery anticipation. Bang, bang. The group continued to move forward. In the end, including Lu Ming and Bubbles, there were more than 10 people who came to the front of the altar. The rest could not withstand the attacks and retreated. I'll blast him to pieces. A brawny man held a giant axe and swung it at the altar. Boom. The giant axe landed on the altar, causing it to shake violently. However, a terrifying time power also rushed out and hit the burly man. The burly man's body instantly shriveled up, and some white hair appeared on his black head. Damn it, my longevity! The burly man bellowed. In that instant, he felt as if he had been deprived of tens of thousands of years of life. This made him furious. This altar has such powerful time power. How do we break it? Some people glared at the Sage Master. If you want it, you have to pay a price. As long as you bombard it a little longer, you can break the altar. The Sage Master spoke. The rest of the people fell silent. If I retreat, my lifespan will be taken away. Even if I obtain a treasure that can increase my lifespan, it's useless. The gains do not make up for the losses. Some people shook their heads and retreated. The rest of the people also shook their heads. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. Under the control of Bubbles' space-time law, he punched the altar. The altar rumbled and shook violently. A strong power of time rushed toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's chaos law and the space-time law of the bubbles successfully blocked the power of time. I blocked it. The eyes of the Sage Master and the others all lit up. Boom, boom. Then, Lu Ming's fists continued to bombard the altar with terrifying fist forces. The altar kept shaking, and a strong power of time rushed out. An ordinary emperor-to-be wouldn't be able to resist it and would be turned into bones. However, they were blocked by Lu Ming and Bubbles. Gotcha! When Lu Ming threw dozens of punches, the altar let out a cracking sound. The Sage Master's eyes bloomed with brilliant light. After a few more punches, the entire altar exploded with a boom, sending debris flying everywhere. And NBSP at this moment, the time energy of the entire mountain of time was rapidly weakening. The power of time has weakened. Those plants are mine. Many people couldn't hold back anymore and rushed toward the Time God Mountain and the plants. And NBSP, the power of time in the Time God Mountain had weakened, so many people were able to rush out far away. Lu Ming and Pow Pow moved and rushed to the top of the canyon. The others did the same and rushed to the top of the canyon one by one. Lu Ming, destroy the other two altars in the other two directions. The Sage Master's eyes glowed with a dazzling light as he stared at Lu Ming. We'll talk later. Lu Ming left these words and dashed towards the peak of the Divine Mountain. Damn it! The Sage Master bellowed in his heart. He then continued to shout, Lu Ming, the other two altars are still intact. You won't be able to reach the peak. Go and destroy the other two altars first. He ordered. However, Lu Ming could not be bothered with the Sage Master. He had a faint feeling that the Sage Master had an unspeakable motive for asking them to destroy the sacrificial altar. It was very likely that it would be disadvantageous to them. It was enough to destroy one. Lu Ming would not be so foolish to destroy the other two. Damn it, you guys go and destroy the other two. The Sage Master ordered the experts of the Divine Time Island. Those people's expressions changed, but they had to listen to the Sage Master's orders. They all rushed to the other two altars. At this moment, Lu Ming was approaching the top of the mountain. He picked the plants he encountered along the way. Oh no, Lu Ming is reaching the top of the mountain. That divine tree of time is mine. Stop him! All of a sudden, the Emperor-to-be experts also rushed to the top of the mountain. And NBSP, however, even though the time energy of the Time God Mountain had been greatly weakened, it was still very strong near the peak. The Emperor-to-be's speed became slower and slower. They could not keep up with Lu Ming's speed at all. In the end, they could not even move an inch because the power of time had exceeded the limit of their resistance. Well, stop him from below. Even if he has the divine tree of time, he'll have to come down. That's right, well, wait for him down there. Several voices rang out in succession. It was the Wind Race's Quasi-Emperor, the Golden Crow Race's Jianghu, and the others. They also stopped near the top of the mountain. They had already reached their limits. These people should be killed. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept across the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be and the rest. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Pow Pow. Then, Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped. He turned around abruptly and pounced toward the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be and the others. His body was shrouded in the power of space-time, and his speed was extremely shocking. Moreover, he was moving from top to bottom, so he was even faster. In an instant, Lu Ming's figure appeared next to the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be. Time acceleration. Bubbles cried out as a space-time law enveloped the Wind Race Quasi-Emperor. There was already a terrifying power of time in this place. Coupled with the Bubbles' time acceleration, the Wind Race's Quasi-Emperor felt as if his life was being taken away and his essence chi was rapidly flowing away. Kill! A combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he charged at the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be. Lu Ming, you dare to kill me? The Wind Clan is an ancient clan. The Wind Race's Emperor-to-be roared, but the next moment, the combat sword slashed down and the man's body was split into two. This person was truly laughable. Previously, he had targeted Lu Ming and wanted to kill him. Now, in the face of Lu Ming's counterattack, He even brought up the wind race to threaten Lu Ming. Buzz. After Lu Ming killed the emperor-to-be of the wind race, he did not stop and charged at another giant wolf from the Sirius Tower. It was exactly the same as the wind race's emperor-to-be. They had to resist the power of time with all their might. They were no match for Lu Ming and Bubbles. They did not have the power to fight back and were killed by Lu Ming's sword. As for their storage rings, they were naturally kept by Lu Ming. Not good, retreat. And NBSP, the remaining giant wolf, the quasi-emperors of the Golden Crow race, and the Purple Extreme sect were all terrified as they madly rushed down the mountain. However, Lu Ming's speed was even faster. In a flash, he appeared in front of the emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race. No! The Golden Crow race's quasi-emperor roared, but as the sword fell, the man was also killed. Following that, Lu Ming charged toward the emperor-to-be of the Purple Extreme sect and killed this person. After killing so many people, he had finally wasted some time. At this moment, the other giant wolf had already charged down the Time Mountain. Without the power of time, it would not be so easy to kill him. And NBSP, the giant wolf, ran down the Time God Mountain, trembling in fear. It didn't dare to stay any longer. With a furious roar, it actually shot up into the sky and left. Lu Ming continued to rush towards the peak of the Time Mountain. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1957. Chapter 1957, Divine Tree in Hand. Chapter 1957. Chapter 1957, Divine Tree in Hand. The other emperors-to-be looked at Lu Ming in fear. Lu Ming's attack was too ruthless. He had killed 4 emperor-to-be in an instant with a thunderous blow just now. It sent a chill down everyone's spine. This was the Time Mountain. They were no match for Lu Ming. Some of them did not even dare to move forward and retreated from the Time Mountain. Boom, boom. On the other 2 sides, the emperors-to-be of the Divine Time Island were bombarding the other 2 ancient altars. However, they couldn't stop the power of time from the altar at all. A few quasi-emperors from the Divine Time Island had died under the power of time. The others all retreated and didn't dare to continue. Damn it! The Sage Master roared in his heart, his eyes flashing with cold, killing intent. Lu Ming did not listen to him and went to destroy the other 2 altars. If it wasn't for some special reason that he couldn't do it himself, he would have done it himself. Lu Ming and Bubbles kept going up and they were getting closer to the peak. Lu Ming could already see the Divine Tree of Time at the top of the mountain clearly. The Divine Tree of Time was only a meter tall. Its emerald green leaves glowed with a crystalline light, and 2 milky white fruits hung from its branches. I want it, Chirpy. Bubbles stared at the small tree, his eyes shining and his saliva almost drooling out. However, the closer they got to the peak, the stronger the power of time became. When they were close to the small tree, Lu Ming and Bubbles could feel a terrifying pressure. Lu Ming could feel that the essence energy in his body was slowly flowing away. His smooth skin was also slowly becoming dry and wrinkled. This proved that his lifespan was slowly decreasing. The small tree was less than 100 meters away from them. Continue! Lu Ming shouted. He circulated the chaos law to the extreme and coincided with the space-time law of Bubbles to resist the power of time together. At the same time, Lu Ming took out the Tai Chi disc array. A Tai Chi pattern was formed and pressed down on the 2 of them. Following that, the Dian elixir furnace also appeared. It floated above the 2 of them and sprinkled down a light screen. As a result, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. They continued to move forward, and the distance between them and the small tree was getting closer and closer. 90 meters, 80 meters, 70 meters, and NBSP very quickly, he was only 50 meters away from the tree. The time energy here was shockingly powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that they had destroyed an altar, they definitely wouldn't have been able to make it here. You can't reach the peak, you can't reach the peak. The Sage Master mumbled. He really hoped that Lu Ming would not be able to reach the peak. In that case, Lu Ming had no choice but to come down and destroy one of the other 2 altars. Only then would he be able to obtain the Divine Tree of Time. But he was destined to be disappointed. and NBSP Pow Pow spat out a crystal that gave off a terrifying space-time ripple that blocked the time energy as they continued forward. 40 meters, 30 meters, they continued to approach the small tree and finally came to the side of the time tree. Fruit. Bubbles' eyes glowed as she swallowed one of the milky white fruits in one gulp, showing a look of enjoyment. Then, Bubble grabbed the tree with both hands, pulled it down, and swallowed it. Detestable! The Sage Master's face darkened when he saw Lu Ming and the rest uprooting the divine tree of time. Let's go! Lu Ming muttered and dashed down the mountain with the bubbles. It was difficult to go up the mountain but easy to go down the mountain. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning and he was halfway up the mountain in no time. At that moment, a figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the Sage Master. Lu Ming, now that you've obtained the divine tree of time, you should go and destroy the other 2 altars. The Sage Master said. Since you've already obtained the divine tree of time, why do you still want to destroy the other 2 altars? Isn't that unnecessary? Lu Ming asked. Destroying those 2 altars is useful to me. If you help me, I'll definitely reward you handsomely. The Sage Master's face was gloomy. No need, I'll be leaving this world soon. I'm not interested in your thanks. Lu Ming shouted. He wanted to go around the Sage Master and leave this place. Today, you have to agree even if you don't want to. The Sage Master bellowed. At the same time, he made the first move. His body twisted violently and transformed into a combat sword, slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. This was the first time he had seen such a divine power. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and threw a punch. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and pressed toward the Sage Master. Boom! The Sage Master was sent flying as he angrily shouted, "Damn the prison-suppressing steel!" At this moment, Lu Ming felt a terrifying force rushing into his mind and attacking his soul, causing his soul to shake violently. Soul attack? This Sage Master doesn't have a physical body. Lu Ming was shocked. From the exchange of blows earlier, Lu Ming realized that the Sage Master was not a physical body but a spiritual body. No wonder his body could transform into a sword to attack. However, it was strange that a spirit body would not dissipate after existing for a long time. Moreover, the other party seemed to be very afraid of his prison-defending monument's attack. In Lu Ming's memory, only some demonic creatures and the three-eyed god race would be afraid of the prison-defending monument. Could it be that the Sage Master was a demonic or evil spirit? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the Sage Master didn't have good intentions when he asked him to destroy the remaining 2 altars. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. At this moment, the other emperors-to-be of the Divine Time Island had also arrived. They all launched attacks at Lu Ming. However, Bubbles pressed down with both hands and the void seemed to be frozen. The experts from the Divine Time Island froze for a moment. Lu Ming rushed past them and headed down the mountain. Everyone, Lu Ming has the divine tree of time. Once he consumes it, his lifespan will double and it even has the effect of breaking through bottlenecks. Are you going to let him have it just like that? The Sage Master roared, his voice reverberating through the entire area. Many Emperor-to-be from the outside world stared at Lu Ming with burning eyes. Lu Ming, let's stop. Let's make a deal. One by one, the Emperor-to-be experts charged toward Lu Ming. Their powerful auras exploded, forming a terrifying pressure. There were dozens of Emperor-to-be and they were terrifying when they joined forces. Even if Lu Ming and Bubbles joined forces, they were definitely not their match. Furthermore, the other party's Saint energy was so dense that even the Bubbles' spacetime power could not pass through. Lu Ming, stay here and destroy the other 2 altars. Behind them, the Sage Master led the people from the Divine Time Island and charged over. Don't even think about it. Lu Ming stomped on the ground heavily, causing it to rumble. His body shot into the sky. Bubbles' spacetime tunnel. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Bubbles immediately opened a spacetime tunnel and Lu Ming rushed over. Not good, stop him. The Sage Master roared. Together with the experts of the Divine Time Island, they used all their strength to attack the spacetime tunnel. At the same time, the Emperor-to-be from the outside world also launched an attack on Lu Ming. Dozens of terrifying attacks crushed over, causing the space to shake violently, and a hideous gap appeared. The space-time tunnel also exploded instantly. Lu Ming and bubbles were blasted out. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1958. The Terrifying Creature Under the Divine Mountain. Chapter 1958. The terrifying creature under the Divine Mountain. The space-time tunnel exploded and Lu Ming and Bubbles were blasted out. However, Lu Ming and Bubbles had escaped some distance through the space-time tunnel and had jumped out of the encirclement of the many Emperor-to-be. Let's go! Lu Ming and Bubbles sped off into the distance. He planned to head to the residence of the vast C9 nations and bring Yuan Tianjiao and the rest away. Damn it, none of you can escape, none of you can escape. Seeing that Lu Ming was about to leave, the Sage Master went crazy and started shouting madly. Boom! As the Sage Master shouted, the Time God Mountain rumbled and shook violently. Break, break, break. The Sage Master roared, his entire body emitting endless black light. The Divine Time Mountain continued to explode and shatter. Then the entire Time God Mountain cracked from the middle. Clang, clang, clang. Everyone could hear the clanging of chains coming from the Time God Mountain. That's... Lu Ming's eyes suddenly focused. This was because he saw a huge and majestic figure in the crack of the Time God Mountain. This figure was in the form of an adult, but it was extremely huge. It was shrouded in a layer of black light, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. His forelimbs and neck were each shackled by a huge iron chain. At this moment, the Sage Master turned into a black light and entered the huge black shadow. Break! The black shadow let out a loud roar, and his voice was actually the same as the Sage Master's. Clang, clang, clang. The chains, the God of Time Mountain, and even the entire God of Time Island were shaking. And NBSP, a terrifying time energy surged out of the massive black shadow, spreading in all directions. All. Help. Some of the absolute saints let out shrill cries as the power of time passed through them. The next moment, their bodies withered and turned into skeletons. Even some Emperor-to-be were the same. Not good, let's go. Run. The remaining Emperor-to-be's expression changed and they fled frantically. Die, all of you must die. And NBSP break. The massive black figure roared as it began to struggle, sending even more time energy surging outward in waves. No, some Emperors-to-be were rushed by the power of time and let out roars of unwillingness. In the midst of their roars, they turned into bones. Lu Ming and Bubbles increased their speed to the maximum and charged towards Yuan Tianjiao and the rest. At that moment, Lu Ming was suddenly enlightened about many things. He finally knew why the Sage Master had told him to destroy those altars. That was because the Sage Master was the massive figure of the Time God Mountain. It was the soul power that had split off from that massive figure. The giant figure was obviously sealed here, and the three altars were the key to the seal. The Sage Master had asked Lu Ming to destroy the three altars so that he could free himself. As Lu Ming had destroyed an altar, the power of the seal had weakened. That was why the other party was able to destroy the Divine Mountain and reveal himself. However, there were still two more altars, and the other party might not be able to come out. At this moment, Lu Ming was secretly glad that he did not destroy the two altars. Otherwise, they would be in danger when the huge figure appeared. That Sage Master really had a good scheme. It was said that the Divine Light Sacred Island was built by the Sage Master. Every 3 years, he would recruit a batch of powerful geniuses to cultivate on the Divine Time Island. Lu Ming suspected that the Sage Master had established the Divine Time Island, gathered the paragons, and nurtured these people. His goal was to wait for these people to become stronger so that they could destroy the altar. However, an ordinary Emperor-to-be would not be able to do so. This time, Lu Ming and the rest came to help the other party. Boom, boom. The fluctuations of the Time God Mountain grew more and more violent as the terrifying power of time burst forth in all directions. The area it covered was getting wider and wider. If this continued, the entire Time God Island would probably be enveloped. Bubbles, space-time tunnel. Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Bubbles nodded. With a wave of her hands, a space-time tunnel appeared. Lu Ming entered the space-time tunnel, and in the next moment, he appeared at Ruan Tianjiao and the rest's residence. At this moment, the quaking of the Time God Mountain had also alarmed the other side. Many figures had gathered together and looked in the direction of the Time God Mountain in confusion. Lu Ming's sudden appearance by Ruan Tianjiao's side gave them a huge shock. Lu Ming, what's going on? Ruan Tianjiao asked subconsciously. There's no time, he'll take you guys away. Lu Ming took out the mountain and river diagram. A beam of light enveloped Ruan Tianjiao and the rest, and they were kept into the mountain and river diagram. You guys hurry up and escape. Lu Ming shouted at the others. Then, he soared into the sky and rushed out of the Divine Time Island. As for the others, they couldn't care so much. Whether they could escape with their lives would depend on their luck. Those people were stunned, not knowing what had happened. I guess this person offended the Sage Master and is being hunted down. We've come to the sacred island with great difficulty. How can we leave just because of his words? The people from Xianling Kingdom snorted coldly. Lu Ming had killed so many of their experts. Why would they believe his words? The people from the other countries nodded and agreed with what the man from Mysterious Spirit Highland said. They felt that Lu Ming must have offended the Sage Master and was running for his life. But following that, the rumbling sounds from the depths of the Divine Time Island grew more and more intense. Following that, they saw streaks of light shooting out of the Divine Time Island with astonishing speed. They were all foreign emperors to be, and some of them had been able to escape here. It seems like something extraordinary has really happened. Some people's faces were pale. In the next moment, screams rang out from the depths of the Divine Time Island. One figure after another shot up into the sky, wanting to escape. However, an invisible fluctuation spread out and those people were fixed in the air. Then, their bodies shriveled up as if time had been deprived of them. The older ones directly decayed. The younger ones also aged in an instant, then rotted and turned into dry bones. Run! These people were finally scared and rushed out like crazy. However, they hadn't flown very far when the terrifying power of time swept over them. Their bodies froze in the air and then rapidly aged, turning into bones that fell to the ground. Even their bones began to rot and turn into powder. At this moment, Bubbles opened up a space-time tunnel once again. The two of them rushed out of the space-time Divine Island's boundary and flew into the distance at top speed. A terrifying roar came from the temporal island. It was filled with anger and unwillingness. Following that, Lu Ming saw a streak of rainbow light rushing out of the Divine Time Island in a panic and rapidly disappearing into the distance. They were several Emperor-to-be experts. The others who didn't escape were probably dead. Lu Ming sighed and flew to the distance to observe from afar. After that, a few more indignant roars rang out from the Divine Time Island before dying down. It seemed that the huge figure had not escaped. However, in the entire temporal Divine Island, other than those who had managed to escape, no one else had managed to escape. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959, Law Light. Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959 Law Light. What is that figure on the Time God Mountain? Is that terrifying? Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows tightly. The giant figure was too terrifying. Its strength was unfathomable, even more terrifying than a true emperor. Could it be that the Celestial the Arch has suppressed them here? Lu Ming thought about it carefully and felt that it was very likely. The world here was originally suppressed by the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. It only appeared when the two great sovereigns fought and the Heavenly Emperor Mountain exploded. It was very likely that he was a powerful existence suppressed by the Celestial the Arch. Then, Lu Ming shook his head, turned into a ray of light, and left the place. That kind of powerful existence was not something he could interfere with, so there was no point in thinking too much. Lu Ming headed in the direction of the vast sea 9 nations. A few days later, he brought Wan Tianjiao and the rest back to the Mingyan country. Heavenly Flood Dragon, leaving. In the palace of Mingyan country, Wan Tianjiao's delicate body trembled slightly, and her eyes were a little complicated. Although she knew that Lu Ming would leave sooner or later because they were not from the same world, she did not expect that day to come so quickly. In the end, he's just a passerby in the Mingyan country. Wan Tianjiao sighed in his heart and collected his thoughts. He revealed a smile on his face and asked, "Where are you going? Are we going back to outer space? Do you know that there are other worlds apart from the 10,000 sea realm?" Lu Ming shook his head. Wan Tianjiao thought for a moment. There are legends. It said that there are 9 worlds similar to the 10,000 sea realm. They are all connected. Only Saint Emperors can travel there. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that Wan Tianjiao was talking about the world of the lotus flower. In the world of the lotus, 9 petals were 9 worlds. Do you know where the passageway is? Lu Ming continued to ask. Legend has it that in the far west of the 10,000 sea realm, there is a void passage that leads to other worlds. Yuan Tianjiao said. The far west. Lu Ming nodded. A storage ring appeared in his hand and he passed it to Yuan Tianjiao. Heavenly Flood Dragon, there are some saint herbs, saint weapons, battle formations, and cultivation techniques in here. Keep them. They will be helpful to the Mingyan country. Yuan Tianjiao cast a complicated look at Lu Ming, then took the storage ring and said, Lu Ming, take care. Take care, we'll meet again if we're fated. Lu Ming cupped his fists, then soared into the sky and disappeared from Yuan Tianjiao's sight. One wonder if we will meet again in this life after we part today. A long sigh was heard. Lu Ming was extremely fast. Like a flash of light, he flew toward the far west of the 10,000 sea realm. The endless ocean and the islands flitted past Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's current speed, if he used his full strength, it would be terrifying. He was much faster than the space-breaking flying shuttle that was 20 times faster. After a few days, the ocean became more and more desolate. There were no more islands to be seen, only the endless ocean. After 2 more days, a loud rumbling sound came from afar. Lu Ming discovered that the void in the distance was in chaos. It was as if a huge abyss had appeared out of thin air and divided the sky into 2. It was the endless void turbulence. Lu Ming approached and a powerful force hit him. It was the power of the void. If one's cultivation was not high enough, they would be crushed into pieces by the power of the void. However, to Lu Ming, it did not affect him much. Chirping, Bubbles cried out. His body moved and he charged into the chaotic space currents like a fish in water. Lu Ming smiled and stepped in as well. Chi chi chi. The void turbulence was everywhere and it kept rushing towards Lu Ming, forming a terrifying cutting force. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws throughout his body to resist the cutting power of the void. The laws of chaos trembled slightly. I'm afraid ordinary absolute saints won't be able to resist it after a long time. Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming and Bubbles continued to move forward. Not long after, Lu Ming saw a huge vortex floating in the void. The vortex was like a black hole, deep, mysterious, and terrifying. Even from a distance, one could feel the terrifying tearing force of the vortex. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. It seemed that the void turbulence was not completely free of danger. This kind of pitch-black vortex was very terrifying. It would be very dangerous if one were to enter by mistake. Moreover, the vortex was constantly moving. Following that, Lu Ming continued to move forward. He would discover a pitch-black vortex every once in a while. The void turbulence here was very long. After a day, Lu Ming and the rest still had not passed through. Brother Lu Ming, Bubbles is going to cultivate. Bubbles seemed to have understood something and said to Lu Ming, You can continue your cultivation. Lu Ming said. Bubble nodded and sat cross-legged in the middle of the turbulent void. The power of the turbulent void flow acted on Bubbles' body and passed through it, as though she was not in this dimension. Lu Ming stood not far away from the bubble, shrouded in the laws of chaos. While Bubbles was cultivating, he could also make use of the power of the void turbulence to temper his chaos laws. Time passed day by day. 7 days later, Bubbles' body suddenly emitted a ray of light. The light was very faint at first, but slowly, it became more and more intense and dazzling. This is space-time light. Lu Ming widened his eyes and was overjoyed. Anyone who cultivated a powerful law might be able to cultivate a type of law light. For example, the stellar river had produced the eternal light. Lu Ming had a deep memory of the power of the eternal light in the galaxy. Not only did the eternal light have terrifying offensive power, but it also had powerful defensive abilities. It could be used to attack and defend, and it could greatly increase one's combat power. But to want to cultivate this kind of law light, it was extremely difficult. In theory, the 10 ultimate laws and many king path laws all had the opportunity to cultivate the light of law. However, in reality, only a small number of people were able to cultivate it. The Son of Heaven who had comprehended the 10 ultimate laws had a higher chance of cultivating it, but it was not 100%. For example, Eternal Star River only managed to cultivate eternal light after reaching the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint stage. Back then, the Death Blade had not been able to cultivate the light of death. Lu Ming did not cultivate the light of chaos. As for the King Path laws, it was even more difficult to cultivate the light of laws. Only an extremely small number of king physiques could cultivate it. Once it was cultivated, one's combat strength would skyrocket and one would be able to suppress heaven's favorites of the same level. Now that Bubbles had cultivated the space-time light, Lu Ming was naturally happy. Lu Ming guessed that Bubbles had swallowed a fruit from the divine tree of time. In addition to the void turbulence here, they had combined and gained some insights before they refined the light of time and space. At this moment, the space-time light was retracted. The bubble ended its cultivation and jumped onto Lu Ming's shoulder. Bubble's cultivation was still at the late-stage Absolute Saint realm, but her battle power was probably stronger than before. Now, even if Lu Ming were to go all out, it would be difficult to defeat Bubbles. Lu Ming smiled and continued to move forward. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Chapter 1960. Chapter 1960. Intense battle in the chaotic space basin. LN the void turbulence. Lu Ming would be fine as long as he avoided the black vortex. After walking for a while, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and stopped. That was because many figures had appeared in front of him. At a glance, there were about a dozen of them. However, the turbulent void currents blocked his vision and Lu Ming could not see the specific appearance of the people. Obviously, the other party had also discovered him. The figure of the other party paused for a moment, then continued to step forward. Not long after, the dozen or so figures in front of him became clear. Luo Pokong. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Among the dozen or so people, he saw Luo Pokong's figure. In addition, there was another familiar face, Wu Fengchen of the Wind Race. At the same time, Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen also saw him. Luo Pokong was stunned at first, but his opponent Wan's eyes lit up and emitted a cold killing intent. He shouted, "Lu Ming, it's actually you. Don't let him go, surround him." Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Figures flickered around Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen, surrounding Lu Ming. Powerful auras were locked onto Lu Ming. Emperors-to-be were all experts in the Emperor-to-be realm. Obviously, only those like Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen who had monarch weapons to protect their bodies could step into the void turbulence. They were obviously the Emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect and the Wind Race. "Ah, Lu Ming, one didn't expect to meet you here. This void turbulence shall be your burial ground." Luo Pokong laughed arrogantly. He had been defeated by Lu Ming several times and could not wait to kill Lu Ming. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying and he had too many heaven's favorites around him. Even Luo Zhangqiong was defeated by Lu Ming. Even the Eternal Star River had failed to kill Lu Ming. He had no chance at all in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. However, there were more than a dozen Emperor-to-be experts beside him and Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming was dead for sure. Lu Ming frowned. Even if he and Bubbles joined forces, they might not be able to defeat more than 10 Emperor-to-be. Kill. Lu Ming suddenly moved. He had the upper hand by striking first. Together with Bubbles, he charged towards the right. Bubbles waved her hand and two transparent bubbles enveloped the two emperor-to-be in front of her. Then, Lu Ming pointed two fingers and the chaotic finger of calamity exploded, bombarding the two emperor-to-be. Although the two emperors-to-be tried their best to resist, they were still severely injured. Their bodies were sent flying like cannonballs and almost exploded. The two emperor-to-be were blasted away and there was a hole in the encirclement. Lu Ming continued to flash forward. However, at this moment, a figure caught up with Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. His iron fist was like a mountain as it smashed toward Lu Ming. The iron fist struck out, and the turbulent flow of the void was scattered, revealing a vacuum tunnel. Lu Ming's expression changed. What a terrifying punch! The prison's suppressing heaven art. At the critical moment, Lu Ming activated the prison's suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch as well. Boom! When the two fists collided, Lu Ming felt an extremely terrifying force surge towards him. Lu Ming felt his arms go numb and he could not help but retreat. This person is so strong. Lu Ming's heart sank slightly as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. This brawny man's combat strength was extremely shocking, far beyond the other emperor-to-be. This person's spiritual body is extraordinary. It's a high-grade heaven spiritual body. Lu Ming had a thought. Of course, there were strong and weak emperor-to-be combat strength. Lu Ming was not afraid of those who broke through to the emperor-to-be realm with their earth's spiritual body. He could even defeat and kill them. However, if a heavenly spirit body broke through to the emperor-to-be realm, his combat strength would undoubtedly be much stronger. The brawny man in front of him had broken through to the emperor-to-be realm with a superior heavenly spirit body. Such a person was already a top talent when he was young. He was only slightly weaker than the body of a king, but his combat strength was extremely shocking. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he was no match for him. The man took another step forward and charged at Lu Ming. Bubbles waved his hands and endless void turbulence gushed towards this person. However, this person's battle prowess was indeed shocking. His fists were like mountains as he continuously punched out, breaking apart the chaotic currents in the void. Bubble, don't fight this person head-on. Go the other way. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. The two of them moved and rushed to the other side. At this moment, the other emperor-to-be also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the others. More than a dozen terrifying divine abilities drove the void turbulence and drowned Lu Ming and the others. Space-time light appeared on Bubbles' body. He waved his hands and space-time turbulence rolled back towards his opponent, causing a continuous rumbling sound. Lu Ming moved and rushed to an emperor-to-be. He pressed his hands together and 9 illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared and pressed down on the man. The man let out a long howl and tried his best to resist, but he was still forced to retreat. Following that, countless runes appeared on Lu Ming's left hand. He cast a sealing force and sealed the man while he pointed with all his might with his right hand. And NBSP, a chaos finger of tribulation, shot toward this person. Kill! At this moment, the others, including the emperor-to-be with the superior class heavenly spirit body, also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the rest. Brother Lu Ming, leave it to me, Chirpy. Bubbles rushed out and spurted out with her small mouth. More than 10 transparent bubbles appeared and covered more than 10 emperor-to-be experts. More than a dozen emperor-to-be froze at the same time. Then, they burst out their strength and hit the transparent bubble. As for the brawny man, his combat strength was indeed astonishing. After a few consecutive punches, he shattered the transparent bubble. However, this delay had given Lu Ming enough time. That emperor-to-be was sealed by Lu Ming's sealing power. Then the chaotic finger of tribulation fell. The emperor-to-be screamed in pain and half of his body exploded. Buzz. However, Lu Ming did not give him any chance to react. The Tai Chi formation disc flew out from between his brows, and 2 yin-yang fish swords shot out rapidly, slashing down and killing the man. Damn it, a bunch of trash. Luo Pokong roared from afar. More than a dozen emperor-to-be surrounded Lu Ming and his companion. Lu Ming had actually killed one of them. This was a disgrace. Use the sovereign weapon to stop this little girl. Leave Lu Ming to me, he ordered. The middle-aged man shouted. I'll do it. An emperor-to-be from the wind race waved his hand and a small pagoda appeared. It then grew rapidly like a mountain and endless gales whistled. Like a cage, it enveloped the bubble. At the same time, the middle-aged brawny man charged at Lu Ming with all his might. His fist force was terrifying. Every punch caused the void to shake violently. Lu Ming pointed a few times, but the chaos finger of tribulation was also defeated after colliding with the other party. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. On the other side, Paoba was dashing left and right to avoid the giant pagoda. However, there were too many emperor-to-be on the other side. There were more than 10 of them. They locked onto all directions and kept launching attacks. They blocked Bubbles' escape route in a brutal and direct way. There were even 2 of them who took out their monarch weapons and blocked Bubbles' path of retreat. For a moment, the bubble was trapped and it was difficult for it to help Lu Ming. Buzz. Lu Ming controlled the Tai Chi disc array and pressed it down on the middle-aged man. At the same time, the Dian elixir furnace appeared and enlarged rapidly, smashing toward the man. I have a monarch weapon too, the middle-aged man said coldly. A giant hammer appeared in his hand and he swung it at the Tai Chi formation disc and the De Yen elixir furnace. Chapter 1961. Chapter 1961. Qiu Yu is seriously injured. Clang. The Tai Chi formation disc was sent flying back. Then, the giant hammer hit the Da Yen elixir furnace. The Da Yen elixir furnace trembled and was also sent flying back. Men, help me kill Lu Ming. The middle-aged man shouted. 2 emperor-to-be rushed toward Lu Ming to cooperate with the middle-aged man. With the cooperation of the 2 emperor-to-be, the middle-aged man was even more unscrupulous. The giant hammer was the size of a house and it kept smashing toward Lu Ming with an amazing momentum. Thump, thump. Lu Ming blocked it with the Dian elixir furnace, which kept retreating. And NBSP hoo-hoo. At this moment, a terrifying whistling sound came from behind Lu Ming. A huge, pitch-black vortex was slowly moving toward him. Ha, Lu Ming, you're dead. The middle-aged man was overjoyed. Even the heavens wanted Lu Ming to die. At this moment, a black vortex moved over, leaving Lu Ming no room to retreat. Bubbles shouted and wanted to help, but the 3 monarch weapons had locked down 3 directions. The other quasi-sages were bombarding her. Although Bubbles' space-time law was profound, the opponent was using a brutal method to disrupt the void. Bubbles could only protect herself and couldn't help. At that moment, a pair of cold eyes were staring at Lu Ming from behind the black vortex. This man was actually Luo Zhangqiong. In fact, Luo Zhangqiong was with Luo Pokong and the others. It was just that he had been cultivating alone in the void before, so Lu Ming did not notice him. He heard the commotion and rushed over. He did not expect to see Lu Ming. And NBSP he hid behind the pitch-black vortex and used the law of deprivation to condense the divine imprint of deprivation, constantly draining the energy in the air. The more time passed, the more energy was stripped away, and the more powerful the power of the divine seal would be. By now, the power of the divine seal had reached a terrifying level. Even Luo Zhangqiong himself was shocked. Lu Ming, I'll use this move to send you on your way. Luo Kangqiang's eyes flashed with ferocity. When he saw an opening when Lu Ming was suppressed by the middle-aged man and the 2 emperor-to-be, Luo Zhangqiong did not hesitate to flash out. The divine seal of deprivation flew out rapidly and pressed down on Lu Ming. Luo Zhangqiong. Lu Ming's heart trembled. The power of the deprivation divine seal was too shocking. It even surpassed the middle-aged man's attack by a large margin. At this time, Lu Ming was resisting the attacks of the middle-aged man and the other 2 emperor-to-be with all his might. He did not expect that Luo Zhangqiong would suddenly attack from behind the vortex. It was too late for him to dodge. Qiu Yu had first entered Yellow Rock World. After exploring a few of the ruins of this world, She also came to the edge of Yellow Rock World and entered the Void Turbulence, wanting to head to another world to explore. She cultivated in the Void Turbulence as she walked. After walking for a few days, she suddenly heard a violent boom from ahead. Qiu retracted her aura and walked forward. She saw Lu Ming fighting with someone. Just as she was about to help, she saw that Luo Zhangqiong had suddenly attacked Lu Ming. At this moment, Qiu pounced forward without any hesitation. "Young master, be careful." A crisp sound rang in Lu Ming's ears. Then, he saw a white figure rushing from the side at high speed toward the divine seal of deprivation. "Qiu," Lu Ming's heart trembled. Then he heard a loud boom. Qiu's body flew towards Lu Ming. In the air, her blood was red, like a beautiful blood-colored rose. "Qiu." At this moment, Lu Ming roared loudly, his eyes red. Luo Kangqiong's move was too powerful. Lu Ming knew very well that Qiu would not be able to withstand it. Lu Ming let out a long roar and controlled the Dian Elixir furnace with all his might to block the attacks of the middle-aged man and the two emperor-to-be. He moved his body and caught Qiu. At this moment, Qiu's face was as white as snow. Blood was flowing out of her mouth and she was extremely weak. It was like a weak candle that could be extinguished at any moment. "Qiu, it's you. How is that possible?" Luo Zhangqiong roared in disbelief. Why did Qiu suddenly appear and block his sure-kill move? He was stunned for a moment and forgot to attack. The middle-aged man also knew that Luo Zhangqiong had been pursuing Qiu. When he saw this scene, he couldn't help but stop. "Qiu, why are you so stupid? Why did you block for me?" Lu Ming hugged Qiu, his heart trembling. With his cultivation and the strength of his body, even if he were to take a blow head-on, he would at most be heavily injured and might not die. However, it was a different story for Qiu. Young master, I've said before that I'll always be by your side." Qiu spoke, but her voice was weak. Her aura was also getting weaker. Lu Ming held Qiu's hand and saint energy flowed into her body continuously, protecting her heart. However, it was still useless. Qiu's breath became weaker and weaker, and her eyes slowly closed. "Lu Ming, hand Qiu over to me. Even if she dies, she'll still be mine," Luo Zhangqiong said coldly. "Luo Zhangqiong." At this moment, Lu Ming looked at Luo Zhangqiong with bloodshot eyes. His body was filled with an extremely cold killing intent, like a demon from the 9 netherworlds purgatory. 111 definitely kill you, and 111 flatten the Daluo heaven sect sooner or later, Lu Ming said in a cold and emotionless voice. Luo Zhangqiong felt a chill run down his spine when Lu Ming stared at him coldly. He roared, "If you still want to kill me, then I'll let you both die here today as a pair of mandarin ducks sharing the same fate." Boom! A terrifying aura burst out of Luo Kangqiong's body, and a monarch weapon appeared. Luo Zhangqiong was the grandson of the Great Sovereign, and the monarch weapon he had was given by the Great Sovereign. It was extremely terrifying. "Let's attack together and kill them," Luo Zhangqiong roared. The sovereign weapon carried a terrifying power and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the middle-aged man made his move. His giant hammer broke through the air and headed for Lu Ming. "Luo Zhangqiong, I will definitely kill you in the future," Lu Ming said coldly. With a single thought, the Dian Elixir furnace did not protect him but blasted towards the bubble. As for himself, he recalled Qiu into the mountain and river diagram with a thought. At the same time, Lu Ming used the Tai Chi formation disc and the chaos gem to block in front of him. He retreated quickly and rushed toward the black vortex. Boom! Boom! The Tai Chi formation plate was sent flying back by the middle-aged man while the rock of chaos flew toward Lu Ming after being hit by Luo Kangqiong's monarch weapon. The terrifying power increased Lu Ming's speed and he flew directly into the black vortex. At once, an extremely powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. His figure disappeared into the vortex. On the other side, the Dian Elixir furnace smashed down and sent one of the monarch weapons that trapped bubbles flying. In a flash, bubbles charged out of the encirclement and into the pitch-black vortex. "Stop that pill furnace!" Someone shouted and wanted to stop the Great Yen Elixir Furnace. However, the Great Yen Elixir Furnace had long recognized Lu Ming as its master and was very intelligent. It blew away a few emperor-to-be and rushed into the dark vortex, disappearing. Chapter 1962. Chapter 1962. In the Void Storm, damn it. Luo Zhangqiong roared with cold killing intent. Lu Ming is dead for sure after entering this black vortex. Luo Pokong said with a cold smile as he stepped on air. That's right, he's dead. The other emperors-to-be also smiled. There was a terrifying destructive power in the black vortex. They were all shocked. Lu Ming would definitely die if he entered. Not necessarily. Luo Kangqiang's expression was very cold. Lu Ming is very terrifying and unpredictable. Moreover, there's another person who understands the law of time and space going in with him. He might not die. These words caused the hearts of the others to tremble. Indeed, Lu Ming was very terrifying to begin with. In addition, he had a person who knew the space-time law. Even if he entered the pitch-black vortex, he might not be in any trouble. In that case, Lu Ming was the one who took the initiative to go in just now. Everyone's expression was ugly, but they had no confidence in going in to pursue. After all, the danger was unpredictable. Lu Ming, even if he doesn't die, it'll kill him sooner or later. Luo Zhangqiong snorted coldly. They did not leave, but guarded the place in case Lu Ming came out. They had guessed correctly. Lu Ming had indeed entered the dark vortex on his own accord. It wasn't that he didn't dare to fight. He still had a trump card. However, he was worried about Qiu Yu's safety. Qiu Yu's injuries were too severe. She had to be treated as soon as possible, or she would be in real danger. As soon as Lu Ming entered the pitch-black vortex, a terrifying destructive cutting force surged towards him from all directions. Lu Ming circulated his holy power and controlled the chaos laws at the same time, covering his entire body to resist the attack. Zzz. The cutting force kept hitting Lu Ming's body, causing the chaos laws to tremble as if they were about to collapse. This cutting power is indeed amazing. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws at full force to resist. At the same time, there was a void storm in the black vortex, pushing Lu Ming aimlessly into the distance. Not long after, there was a flash of light and bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. Bubbles controlled space-time and had already cultivated the space-time light. The void storm could not do anything to her. Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. They set up space-time laws around them, blocking the void storm outside. Buzz. The next moment, the Dian elixir furnace flew over and was put away by Lu Ming. Qiu Yu. Lu Ming was thinking about Qiu Yu. With a thought, Qiu Yu came out of the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Qiu Yu was unconscious and her breathing was weak. Luo Kangqiang's attack was too powerful. He had hidden at the side and used the law of deprivation to deprive the outside world of energy. He had accumulated a terrifying amount of power and had intended to kill Lu Ming in one blow. In a hurry, Qiu Yu only wanted to block that move for Lu Ming. She was too seriously injured. Damn it. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He could not wait to crush Luo Kangqiang's bones and scatter his ashes. Qiu, I won't let anything happen to you. Lu Ming muttered and took out a healing pill. He melted the pill with his holy power and fused it into Qiu Yu's body. However, Qiu Yu's injuries were still not getting better. Brother Lu Ming, try the fruit of the divine tree of time. The bubble opened its mouth and the divine tree of time appeared. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The divine tree of time originally had 2 milky white fruits. Bubble had swallowed one and there was still one left. Since the divine tree of time could double a martialist's longevity, it was actually equivalent to increasing their vitality. This meant that the fruit of the divine tree of time contained powerful vitality. This fruit might be able to save Qiu Yu. Lu Ming plucked the fruit and refined it into Qiu Yu's body with holy power. As expected, the fruit of the divine time tree contained boundless vitality that seeped into Qiu Yu's limbs and bones. The injuries on her body were rapidly recovering, and her aura had also stabilized. However, he did not wake up. Brother Lu Ming, it seems like Sister Qiyu's injuries are too severe. Just a fruit of the divine tree of time is not enough to wake her up. Pao Pao sized up Qiu Yu before saying. Lu Ming circulated his saint energy throughout Qiu Yu's body. After a while he sighed. Even though Qiu Yu's life force had stabilized, it was just as Bubbles had said. It was not easy to wake her up. Lu Ming caressed Qiu Yu's face and wiped the blood off the corner of her mouth. He said softly, Qiu, no matter what, I won't let anything happen to you. I won't let go of Luo Tsangqiong and the Daluo Heaven sect. At the end of his sentence, Lu Ming's voice turned cold and a cold, killing intent burst forth. It had been far too dangerous this time. Fortunately, he had the fruit of the divine tree of time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire. If anything happened to Qiu Yu, Lu Ming would never be at ease. Qiu Yu was still the same as before. She did not say much and did not have many requests. She only stayed by Lu Ming's side silently and was willing to give up everything for him, including her life. Lu Ming held Qiu Yu's small hand as he recalled the scenes of their childhood. After a long time, Lu Ming sent Qiu Yu back into the mountain and river diagram and placed her under the path understanding ancient tree, hoping that it would be of help to her. At this moment, Lu Ming took a look at his surroundings. They were still in the chaotic void storm. The bubble enveloped the surroundings with space-time laws and broke through the void storm. Bubble, how do we get out? Lu Ming asked. In the aspect of space, nature bubbles were more skilled. Brother Lu Ming, with my current cultivation, I can't force my way out of this space. I need to wait. I need to find a weak point in the space and rush out in one fell swoop. Bubbles explained. Lu Ming nodded. They continued to wait while observing their surroundings, looking for an opportunity. As time passed, Bubbles' power grew weaker and weaker. If this continued, they would be in danger when Bubbles' power was exhausted. I don't even know where they're floating to. Lu Ming pondered. It was very dangerous to drift in the void like this. It would be fine if he drifted to other worlds. However, if he drifted to the void of eternal nothingness, he would die without the cultivation of a martial supreme. Brother Lu Ming, I got it. Look over there. Bubbles suddenly pointed to the right. Lu Ming looked over and saw that there were some fluctuations in the void. Let's attack with all our might and break out. Chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out as he controlled the laws of time to change direction and fly towards the source of the fluctuation. Chaos finger. Lu Ming used all his strength and pointed his finger. Now, Lu Ming's chaos finger of tribulation had reached 94% completion. The power of a full force point was astonishing. At the same time, the bubbles cooperated with Lu Ming to bombard the void. Boom! The void trembled violently. Then there was a hiss and a crack appeared. Lu Ming was overjoyed and he rushed over with the bubble. As soon as he rushed through the crack, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in a cave. A loud roar came from behind Lu Ming. The stench assailed his nostrils, and it was accompanied by a scorching aura. In front of Lu Ming, there was a burly man who looked at Lu Ming and Bubbles with a dumbfounded expression. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.